Featured locally for the Carolinas.
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Here only on ESPN.
Friday. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is great to have you along for the ride. Happy Friday to you and yours. I am Rob, directly across from me on the other side of the glass, both literally and metaphorically. The great one, Colonel Grudge, the alpha and the omega of ESPN Upstate, hashtag Dad Kicks. Lonzo is with us today. What up, Zo?
22 days till Christmas. How's your shopping going?
Not haven't even started. Are you a last minute guy, or are you done? Like, are you one of those folks that's like done with it in October?
I would love to be done now, but my wife gives me a list pretty late, but she actually gave it to me. So might be doing some this weekend and get it done.
Very nice.
Lists are really good, by the way, because you know what lists do? And we'll be married we'll be married 29 years next week. So you reach a certain level and it's like, okay, here's what I would like. And you make a long list and then you're surprised by what variation of said list you get.
Lists are a great idea. And I should try them one day. I should try them one day.
It's probably hard to buy for you with your amazing radio salary. You probably already have everything that you already want.
The lady friend tells me the other day, she says, and speaking of list, her family apparently does like a Google spreadsheet where everybody goes in.
Wow, that's pretty modern.
Yeah. Everybody goes in and they put gift ideas for them into the spreadsheet. And then they all text around to each other like, oh, I picked up this for mom. I picked this up for sister. I picked this up for brother-in-law, whatever.
A spreadsheet would be bad for me because I would immediately go in and start putting stuff down that someone says they want, even though they don't. And I'd probably mess it up for everybody.
So she texted me the other day and she says, I need some gift ideas from you to put on the spreadsheet because the fam wants to hook you up. And she says, I heard you say you want this. And I'm like, yeah, I bought that already. All right. Well, what about these motorcycle gloves you want? I got those already. Well, what about this? I got that already.
I just got to say, there's an analogy that you use many times that they could help you out with. And you keep talking about the color of Lamborghini that you would get. So if they want to purchase you a Lamborghini,
yeah, I don't think that's going through. I think I got a better shot. I think I got a better shot at the motorcycle gloves, like just duplicate pairs.
I'm a bad person though, because I would pick something really weird to make some member of the family to have to buy it. Something that would make them uncomfortable to have to go and buy.
We got a lot of stuff we need to get into, a lot of stuff to talk about on the show today. So let's just go ahead and get started, shall we?
Let's do lunch.
This is a very nutritious lunch. All the food groups are represented.
What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
I have got what I think is going to be a very, very funny segment later on in the show. Brian Kelly has been introduced as the head coach of LSU. And either last night or the night before, I'm not sure when, Brian Kelly came out at an LSU basketball game to say hello to all the great fans there in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And all of a sudden, Brian Kelly from Boston, Massachusetts, who spent the past 12 years in South Bend, Indiana, suddenly has a foghorn leghorn.
I was going to say,
the game, and he's like, I'm just so glad to be down here at the Louisiana State University. It's like, what the hell are you doing? I'll play that audio for you later on in the show. It is incredible. Absolutely incredible. Lunch breakdown, 3 things you have to know before you go start talking sports with your friends, family, coworker, or the dog, whoever you spend your lunch break with. This will be the scuttlebutt around the lunch table. This is the list of things. Hey, look, a list that you need to know about. The posturing of both the Major League Baseball owners and the MLB Players Association has grown more hostile less than 12 hours into the lockout. The sides both yesterday publicly staked out their positions with far more detail than either had revealed. Jeff Passan said that Manfred called the lockout, quote, not a good thing for the sport and, quote, bad for business, but that MLB deemed it, quote, necessary. That written in a letter that was released minutes after MLB informed the MLBPA that the lockout was on. Then, minutes later, MLB Players Association Executive Director Tony Clark spoke out and said that, quote, contrary to the statement that imposing a lockout would be helpful in bringing negotiations to a conclusion, players consider it unnecessary and provocative, end quote. So began a work stoppage that, according to Jeff Passan of ESPN, high-ranking officials across the sport expect to last 4 months. It was clear after Manfred Clark and other union lead negotiator Bruce Meyer publicly revealed for the first time significant parts of the discussions why pessimism, at least in the short term, is warranted. They couldn't even agree on the things that they don't agree on. That's how bad it is. They don't even seem to know what the other side wants from each other. It's really hard to negotiate with a party for whom you don't know what they want to negotiate for and over. On Thursday, it spilled out into the open. Rob Manfred's note went out earlier in the day. Then Clark and Meyer, just an hour and a half later, sat side by side to break down that letter point by point from some of Rob Manfred's contentions at the heart of the talks, or perhaps more justifiably, lack thereof, are, this is going to shock you, everybody hang on to your butts. The number one sticking point about the entire breakdown in the new CBA negotiations is, Lonzo, you want to take a guess at what's holding them apart from each other?
Money?
Yes! Tell him what he's won, Johnny. It's money. It's money. The economics, according to the MLBPA, and I actually agree with them, have tilted favorably in towards the league over the past couple of years. In fact, yesterday, it was pointed out by a couple of folks that had done a deep dive that over the past decade, league revenue has actually increased 11% roughly, almost the same number that player salaries have decreased over the past few years. Now, you're going to go, wait a minute, Rob. We've seen some huge contracts like Max Scherzer, even the last couple of weeks. How can you say that? Well, it is because most of the highest level contracts are going towards players who have years of time served behind them, meaning that younger players are having a harder time accessing money that used to be there for players of their station. And that is one of their big problems. So we're going to keep an eye on this later on, but suffice to say, both sides gotten more aggressive in the last 24 hours. But another report dropped in Major League Baseball that has been found very interesting, because we are already now dealing with at least one organization coming out and saying, and this comes from NPR, that Major League Baseball kind of told a huge lie to Major League Baseball players this past season. A new report by Business Insider accuses the league of using 2 different baseballs through the 2021 season. They used the old model baseballs after they told players they were switching exclusively to the new model of baseballs. The new baseball's a little bit lighter. They are supposed to not travel quite as far. Well, The report draws on research by Meredith Wills, an astrophysicist and data scientist who in recent years has conducted her own independent studies of baseballs used in major league games. In a statement, the league acknowledged that it had used two different balls and blamed differences on production difficulties caused by the pandemic. A statement put out by Major League Baseball said, quote, generally, balls are produced 6 to 12 months prior to being used in a game. Because Rawlings was forced to reduce capacity at its manufacturing facility due to COVID-19 pandemic, the supply of recenter baseballs was not sufficient to cover the entirety of the 2021 season. To address this issue, Rawlings incorporated excess inventory into its shipments to clubs to provide a full complement of baseballs for the 2021 season. The statement added that the Players Union had been informed of the decision. The Players Association declined to comment, but there have been some folks that have said that the Players Association did indeed not tell them that these older baseballs were being used. Why does this matter? Because it is proven by data points that statistics changed based on the baseballs. In sampling hundreds of baseballs collected from 15 stadiums, Wills found that roughly half of the balls used this season conformed with old standards, meaning they were heavier and could be hit farther. And the ball's batch numbers indicated that some of the older, heavier model had been manufactured after the league's announcement that it would move to a lighter ball, meaning that the older, heavier balls were still being manufactured even after baseball said they were moving to the lighter ball and pitchers started to get used to the new ball. And in a league where statistics inform practically every decision made by teams, including who gets played, who gets signed, how much players earn, etc., the revelation that the league had used two different balls, one which flies further, scientifically proven to be true, prompted frustration amongst players that were contacted by Business Insider for an interview. Adam Ottavino, everything in this game is based on your statistics. There's a million of them. If the variables are being changed out from underneath you and in an unfair way, that sheds doubt on every statistic that you have. Ottavino is a free agent who last pitched with the Boston Red Sox and will be using his statistics to try to get a new contract. And he's going, wait a minute, you told us you were using the new ball. We switched to the new ball. I pitched as if I had the new ball, but I was actually throwing the older ball, which can dampen my stats a little bit. After you told me you weren't going to do that, kind of messed up. And let's be real, he's right. He's right. A lot more folks seem to be on the side of the players in this lockout than they were in 1990. I told you yesterday, I think a part of that reasoning was because for the first time, the players actually have a platform to speak their side of the argument to fans that they did not have 26 years ago in social media. But also, it's crap like this that pops up all the time from baseball. All the damn time this pops up. So it's just one more cog in the wheel.
I really don't know what to say about this. It's interesting, but so you thought it was one thing. So I'm trying to figure out how it affected pitching. I mean,
so the ball weighs the old ball, and these are off the top of my head numbers. I don't know that they are exactly.
But this
correct,
is almost like the placebo effect to a certain degree because you're told the ball is different, but it's not different. So what did you change about how you're pitching? So it's pitching is so scientific to the point where the pitcher goes, okay, the ball is lighter, so I have to adjust my throw.
No, it's going to be more along the lines of this ball's a little lighter. This ball flies with less distance when it's hit. I can be more aggressive in my pitching,
but see,
right?
I get all that, but from what I took from what you were reading, they never really changed it. So they're still using the same ball, but the stats went down.
50% of both the old and
so,
it's like, and I don't remember exactly the difference, but it's like an ounce of difference, which is effectively imperceptible by you just picking up and holding the ball. But When you're throwing the ball, the dynamics of that weight will change it. It will change the flight path of the baseball. It'll change the rotation speed of the baseball, which means that your breaking ball will be more or less efficient, but also it'll change the style of pitching, right? Like if I'm going up against the masher, if I'm going up against Vladdy Guerrero, and I know that with the new balls, his home run rate has dropped by 6% on this one specific pitch, I may be a little more willing to go at that pitch. Right? If Vlad Guerrero is hitting home runs off the curveball at a dropped by 6% rate, I'm a little more willing to put a curveball into the armory that I'm using against him, except for now you're finding out that you were told that's the case, but that's not true with this ball. And those balls are being switched back and forth in game, meaning that for these 4 pitches, you got the new ball. For the next 6 pitches, the old ball. Then the next 6 pitches, the new ball. And you're trying to work that in without knowing that you're trying to work it in.
How come I feel like I just took a physics test?
Because I, Lonzo, am a haughty intellectual. That's why. We'll come back to that later. Item number 2 on the lunch breakdown. I don't often talk about individual games on the lunch breakdown, but how about yesterday when the Memphis Grizzlies knocked off the Oklahoma City Thunder, Lonzo, by 152 to 79.
Yeah, no mercy rule in pro sports.
Nope. A 73-point margin. In fact, Memphis almost beat Oklahoma City by the same amount of points that Oklahoma City scored in an NBA game. That's ridiculous. Oh, and by the way, if you're keeping track and playing the home version of the Rob Brown Show, they did it without Ja Morant. He was hurt yesterday. They did it without the best player on the roster. They won by 73. It easily topped the previous mark, which was Cleveland's 68-point win over Miami. The Cavs topped the Heat 148-80 back in 1991.
So were there multiple players with over 30 as far as scoring goes?
There were 9 players in double digits. In fact, let me pull that. You're right. Let me pull that box score. Let me pull that box.
I was just
score.
picturing one guy with a really tired arm because he scored like 80 points.
I believe there were like 16 or 15 or 14 different players that were on the box sheet, and most of them for most of them for the Grizz.
They pulled out a
digits.
trainer. The bench. One of the bench coaches had him come in and score some points.
Jared Jackson Jr. had 27 by the way, no starter played more than I think 22 minutes in this game.
Wow.
Dylan Brooks had 27. Tyus Jones had 10. Your 3 starters in double digits. But off the bench, Brandon Clark had 11 off the bench. Santi Aldama had 18 off the bench. Xavier Tillman had 11 off the bench. John Conker had 17 off the bench. DeAnthony Melton had 19 off the bench, and Jarrett Culver had 11 off the bench. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bench players.
And I just want to say, if you
double digits,
if you recognize any of those names, you're really into basketball.
6 players off the bench for the Memphis Grizzlies had double digits. The Thunder had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players total in double digits. The Grizz had 6 off the bench. 152-70. Shut down. If you lose by 70, your franchise should be shut down. You're not a team anymore.
Or that demoted thing that they do in soccer, whatever that's
relegated.
called.
You're just relegated. Yeah.
You're down in the G League.
I would say you are the NBA G League team now. Congratulations.
Including salary cut, because that's embarrassing.
That's awful. That is awful. It actually says, so what you're telling me is Billy Donovan wasn't the problem in OKC? I guess. All right, item number 3 on the lunch breakdown we'll hit when we come back. We're going to skip around conference championship weekend. We're going to get you set up for the ACC, Big 10, Pac-12, SEC, Big 12, American Conference USA, MAC, Mountain West, and Sun Belt Conference championships all coming up over the next hour. My name is Rob. He's a great one, Lonzo, and you're listening to ESPN Upstate. I'll watch it as soon as we're done. Is it good?
I mean,
Assuming that's why you sent it to
yes, I'm encouraging you. It's also over 3 minutes long. So, I mean, I worry, like with a lot of things, that they're giving too much, but maybe not. Didn't realize it actually comes out next month. So, I'm like, January, man, that's a long wait. We're in December. Never mind. That's next month. CJ Stroud, Heisman. Probably not.
I don't know.
There's no clear front runner by the end of the year. Sure.
Maybe who does what this weekend, honestly.
It might. But who can solidify it this weekend? Who's the guy?
What's that kid's name from Michigan? That is a defensive player.
You're speaking a foreign language right now.
Foreign language. Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah, I guess.
3 sacks, 15 quarterback pressures against Ohio State, 51 tackles, 14.5 tackles for a loss, 13 sacks for the season. Will Anderson from Alabama has similar numbers.
Chris says the Georgia defensive lineman deserves it. It's not specific.
Hutchinson's a bad dude. Even the breaking stories are for nerds. A data scientist had to break the story. Lame. We talked 2. That's 2 for the week. It's 3-2. It's coming down to the wire. Keegan says, we talked baseball to open up the last segment. Keegan said, what's a great way to kill excitement about an already dying sport? Owners locking out the players because they need more money. Baseball sucks. Even the breaking stories are for nerds. A data scientist had to break the story. Lame. The owners are locking out the players because the players want more money out of the revenue. Revenue is growing for MLB, all right? Or at least it has been over the last decade. You had obviously a big hit to the purse strings because of COVID last year. So the owners are saying, whoa, hold up. We lost a lot of money floating the sport during COVID. So we need to recoup that before we start giving more to the players. Problem is the CBA is not a short-term deal. It'll be like a 15, 20, 25-year deal that goes into place, right? The players are saying, wait a minute, you guys over the past decade have made more money. And because you have made more money, we deserve a chunk of that because we're the ones playing the game. Like I said, the interesting part about this, and again, I will also acknowledge that this may be more interesting to me because I am a huge dork than a lot of kind of, when I'm going to say baseball fans that are just kind of casual baseball fans, is the angle of how does this play out differently from the 90s strike? Or lockout, in that lockout was 31 years ago. Sorry. Yeah. 26, whatever. However many years ago it was. 26 years ago, whatever. Since the last time we had this situation. And the fact that last time, Major League Baseball drove the story. They controlled the media, right? We had one of the guys from ORD, Roger Davis, came over before the show started today. And we got to talking about it a little bit. And he said, can you give me the Reader's Digest version? So we kind of broke down the lockout. And then I said, what's interesting about this one is the fact that, and we talked about this very briefly yesterday as well. What's interesting about this one is that in the last few lockouts, it has been the owners that have driven the storyline. The owners have controlled the media. We told you yesterday, even at a local level, right? At a big level, ESPN has a deal with MLB to be able to carry games, which is why if you go look over the last 48 hours since the 24-hour countdown to the lockout, And then 24 hours since the lockout, last night at midnight, not this past night, but the night before at midnight, if you go watch ESPN, you have seen interviews with owners, with GMs. You have seen Rob Manfred get his time in the sun on ESPN. The only person from the players' side that I have seen mentioned at this point is Tony Clark. It's the only guy, is the executive director of the Players Association, and that's it. I have not seen any players talk to at all. And granted, the players are going to be less, and this may be because they've turned it down. I don't know. There's a possibility they've offered interviews and the players have said no, right? A lot of players are going to be intelligent in saying, hey, look, I'm going to let the association handle this because it's over my head. Whereas the owners are the ones who are sitting in a room with their lawyers coming up with their side of the plan, their side of the argument. So maybe the players have just turned it down. But I have not seen word from players after the lockout, really even before the lockout at all. Because the media side of things are driven by the owners. It is the owners that go to ESPN and go to the local media outlets. It is they that go to these outlets and go, hey, Rob Brown, host of the Rob Brown Show in Atlanta, Georgia, if you want to continue to receive credentials to Atlanta Braves games, you're not going to lambaste us. You're not going to say that it's our fault. Now, I'm sure that there are some hosts that will take that angle and bow. And there will be others who will go, you know what? If that's how you're going to play the game, fine. I'll go on the air and say exactly what you told me. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry. We can't cover these local team games anymore because they took our credentials away. And they took our credentials away because I had a bad word to say about him. So sorry, no more local baseball talk. But most aren't. Because at the end of the day, it is the access that we have in this role to teams that elevates us past that dude with a microphone that you know, right? There's a million podcasts out there. But it's tough to get access unless you're in a role like this one. So the owners are saying, we're the ones. In fact, we just got this text. This text just came in that said, the older I get, the more I take the owner's side. They take all the risk and invest their own money to keep the franchises going and make payroll by MLB. Only so many pieces of the pie to give away before it's not worth baking the pie anymore because there is nothing left for the chef to eat, make payroll, including all the expense, maintaining, scouting, spring training, winter ball, and minor league organizations. And nearly all those things are subsidized by MLB. Only so many pieces of the pie, yada, yada, yada. I get that is a growingly popular sense about the owners. The problem is that what risk? What risk are they taking? They have gained 11% in revenue in the past decade. 11% it's gone up. And for you and me, on Lonzo's grand media salary, I mean, 11% is a good bump in pay, but it's not really like world-changing, right? But when you're talking to the tune of hundreds.
I'll say if you're offering 11%, I'll take it.
Oh, hell yeah. But on our scale, that I wouldn't consider that a life-changing raise for me. I'd have a little more in the travel fund. I'd buy a few more concert tickets next year. But it's not like world-changing. But when you are talking about hundreds of millions of dollars in a billion-dollar sport, 11% is a redonkulous amount of money. And the players aren't asking for all of it. A chunk of what they're saying is, hey, 11% put back into, 50% of that, 30% of that put back into our pot would be big. But then the other side of that is how much control the owners had in the old CBA over the actual time and location served of players. MLB can take a kid coming out of college, stick him in the minor leagues, and pay him nothing until he's 25, 26 years old. In almost every other sport, and granted, baseball is less physical than football and basketball, but in almost every other sport, 25 is about the time you start to decline. 30, you're an old man. How many baseball players can you name that are over 31 years of age? Not a ton. I mean, there are some, but not a ton. So what baseball players are saying here is you're sticking us in minor league systems for years where we're making very little money. Then when you bring us to the show, we're locked in. We can't utilize free agency the way it was designed to be utilized to make more money in a competitive market. You have all the control over the market, but then are telling us that we should be happy with the market. No one is going to be happy with a market in which they have no control over how the market works, right? That's part of this. Texas says the argument the players need to make is if your performance at your job let the company work for make more money, wouldn't you expect a raise? They have to frame it in a way the average fan can relate to. Oh, I agree. That was one of the conversations Roger and I had before we came on the air. I said the interesting thing is that the players have this platform that they've never had before in social media where they can talk directly to the fans. They don't have to third wheel a journalist in there. They can go directly to the fans and say, here's our argument. The problem, as we have all experienced over the past couple of years, is that social media lets people who have no clue what they're talking about have voices that are just as loud as everybody else's, right? People who have no idea what they're talking about have voices that are equal to the experts, at least in terms of volume and ability to be spread. But you got a point. Absolutely. The players need to come out, and the message needs to be really boiled down to, hey, look, the owners made 11% more money over the past decade than they ever had before. In any other job, you would expect that if the company took an 11% increase in revenue, at least a part of that would go to the people who, make the corporation work. You would expect. And it's not always the case. But at this scale, the players are going to make that argument. If you worked at a company and you found out that there was an 11% increase in revenue because of your work and the boss pocketed every cent of it, you might decide to switch jobs, or at least companies. Texture said, wait, you understand the markets? Because I certainly don't. Stocks are always in the blanking red. It's a little different market, but you know what I'm saying. The owners have complete and total control over the market of players until most players are 30-ish, at which point most players are on the decline at that point. Very few are still getting better at 30, which means they've lost out on potential free agent contracts when they were 25. That could have been worth a heck of a lot more money. All right, let's take a break. 844-GSP, ESPN is the number. We got to break down conference championship weekend, including Alabama, Georgia, Michigan, and Iowa, and others. Plus, Brian Kelly has a Southern accent now, question mark? I can't wait to play that for you.
This is the ultimate tease. I mean, I can listen to it during break, but I'm not. I'll wait.
Oh, it's good. It's good. I got that around the corner, too, on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
You seen the Bones Thugs and Harmony fight?
Nope.
Fighting another group on stage. It's all over. It's all over Twitter. I don't know if there's language, so I don't know if we could analyze it or not. Here, I'll send it to you. Hold on. There, check your Twitter.
3-6 Mafia versus Bone Thugs.
Again, well, I guess we could play it without audio. I mean, if you wanted to break it down, I don't know.
Oh, we're absolutely doing a fight breakdown on the Twitter.
NFL Giants quarterback Daniel Jones won't play Sunday against the Dolphins because of a neck strain. Mike Lennon set to start in his place. Lions running back DeAndre Swift, shoulder sprain, out against the Vikings on Sunday.
From the Eagles Market Studio, this is ESPN Upstate. 97.7 FM Cleveland, 97.1 FM Spartanburg. ESPN Upstate.
They're calling Taysom Hill's finger injury mallet finger.
Mallet finger?
Yes. Sorry, Mr. Hill, but I regret to inform you that you have mallet finger.
Want to go through another year with that awful joint pain? Don't do it. Resolve right now to get yourself moving again.
I wonder if anybody got cell phone footage of this.
It's time to call QC
Maybe a couple people were smart enough to see the bad part about it without listening to the audio. I mean, so I'm curious. I guess I could read the article to find out what caused it, but is it real? Is it real?
The verse, yeah. The verse. So the show, it's called Versus Battle, and basically what they do is they have big time rappers on, and they battle rap each other.
Yeah, I
and sometimes it's rap, sometimes it's like 8 Miling. And apparently one of the guys from Bone Thugs took one of the verses that 3-6 dropped personally. Told him, "You ain't about to be mocking me, mother bleeper," and threw a water bottle at him.
I watched part of it.
And
so
then
I saw
once,
the throw.
once that happens, nobody says going to back down. But yeah, that's the point is to go after each other. Like, why'd you sign up to show up if that's what you did? Like, what?
I want to see John Cena versus Vanilla Ice on that.
I think Cena wrote his own raps when he wrote Burns.
According to documentary footage, he did, but
yeah,
that could be lying.
On your mobile phone right now and get free roadside assistance, free towing, free car rental, and free oil changes. Dial 800-279-2827 and never pay for car repairs again.
A more even fight would be Eminem versus Vanilla Ice. Really not. Vanilla Ice pretty old now, but my money's on him. I don't think Marshall could fight, but who knows. This is the start of a trend, though. Will they have to shut this versus thing down because
they've had some incredible shows.
Yeah, this is the first one that went violent, though.
Right.
And you gotta be careful with that stuff because it can get into the audience, and then there's brawling in the audience too. And
yep,
it's full blown riot before you know it. Upstate Lights in the next break. Why hasn't this went to other genres? Because I want to see a country versus battle.
You know what? Do we just get Brian Kelly now, or do I play it out till we have we got time. Let's do it. Brian Kelly, who is from Boston, Massachusetts, spent the entire life in the North, spent the last dozen years in South Bend, Indiana, don't you know? Shows up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana on Sunday as the head coach of the LSU Fighting Tiger Men's. He gets introduced earlier this week at an LSU basketball game to rile up the crowd for the first time. And all of a sudden, Brian Kelly has this awful Southern accent. Listen to Brian Kelly work the crowd at this basketball game.
Thank you. Well, this is a great way to get started. And I haven't even won all my games yet. It's a great night to be a Tiger. I'm here with my family.
Family.
I'm so excited to be in the great state of Louisiana, but
More importantly,
you great fans, and to be part of what is going to be an incredible ride here at Louisiana State University.
Louisiana State University.
And I know it's basketball, and this is an exciting basketball team, and we've got a nice start. But I can't wait to get into Tiger Stadium this fall. I will tell you this, the greatest fans deserve an incredible football team, and we will begin, starting right this minute, to put together the next national championship match. Louisiana State University. That's the standard. That's the expectation. We knew that coming in. We don't apologize for it. We know it's hard work. We know there's great teams in the SEC. We respect them. But this is LSU. Go Tigers!
Me and my family down here at Louisiana State University.
Does he normally talk that slow?
No!
Okay, because I haven't really,
You want to hear what he actually talks like?
No, not really.
Clip 2A.
Okay.
Clip 2A. I should have played this one first. This is Brian Kelly on the Paul Feinbaum show earlier this week talking about accepting the job at LSU. Here's how he normally talks.
Yeah, I don't even know whirlwind is possible as a definition. Look, you're getting your football team ready to play on the West Coast against Stanford. Your focus is on trying to put them in the best position to get into the playoffs. You're on the West Coast recruiting, and the next thing you know, you're landing in South Bend at 5:30 a.m. with a 7 a.m. meeting to tell your team that you've resigned from Notre Dame and you're the new head football coach at Louisiana State University. So it was just one of those things that just happened so quickly, came together at the last minute, and really excited to be here at LSU.
That's how he talks in regular life.
Okay, so either he was talking slow for the what pop, which
what
exactly, or
what
he's talking slow for all the simple Louisiana folk so they can understand what he's saying.
Dude, it's like a couple of things. All right, first off, I'm from Louisiana, right? Like that's where I was born.
The people in the crowd are like, wait, I can understand what the coach is saying.
Yeah.
This is the first time in a couple of years I can actually understand what he's saying.
Now, don't get me wrong. We're going to come in there and go build a national championship. Go Tigers. I'm going to miss Coach O and go Tigers.
Dude shows up, grabs the mic, and he's like, hey, y'all, welcome down to Louisiana State University, y'all. I'm so glad to be here, y'all. All right, down here at Louisiana, me and my family at Louisiana State University. Dude, why are you doing that, Brian Kelly? Why are you doing that?
He prepped by watching a lot of Henry McMaster clips.
Like, there's an extensive... because that's the thing. There's a whole lot of different Southern accents, right? Like, there's a whole lot of different... There's that Southern drawn-out Mississippi, Louisiana accent. Then you got that Henry McMaster from South Carolina going in the wind accent. Then you got Louisiana. You got, and there's like 7 different accents in New Orleans to Baton Rouge alone, y'all. All right? There's like 7 different accents in Baton Rouge and New Orleans alone. And he shows up and does this like hodgepodge mix of them all, slow his speech way down. Like, dude, they hired you despite your history. They hired you despite knowing who you are as a person. They don't care if you say wicked pissa. You know what I mean?
Hey, what does Brian Kelly know about national championships?
He knows who's won them that aren't Notre Dame.
Okay, because, yeah, all right. I'm just curious.
And I heard the discussion yesterday. I've heard the discussion a number of times. Like, did he leave Notre Dame because you just can't win a championship there? And Diesel had a great take. Diesel said anybody who's good enough to make it to a playoff Final Four is good enough to win a national championship, right?
Not
agree with that?
Not in Notre Dame's case, because they had so many things going for them, especially in the beginning of the playoff, where they could get in a lot easier. Their road was too easy compared to other teams.
Oh, I don't agree with that.
Oh, absolutely, it was. When Notre Dame got there, they didn't belong there, and everyone knew that. Probably even they knew that.
So even if it's true, right? I don't really care why he took the LSU job. At the end of the day, he took the LSU job because they bumped his salary up about $7.5 million a year.
Unfortunately, Cincinnati's going to be the Notre Dame this year. That one team that doesn't belong in the playoffs.
And gets smoked.
And gets totally destroyed, yes.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. But can we talk about Brian Cowley's accent again, please? Can you explain that to me? And don't get me wrong. One of the first, when I got in radio, when I got on my first radio show way back in 2007, 8, whatever it was, when I got on my first radio show, I absolutely adopted a more traditional Southern accent, but the show was called Southern Sports Tonight, and it was exclusively a Southeastern Conference football program only. That's all I was allowed to talk about. That was it.
Hey, I've been chastised for my Southern accent in the past. My family's from Kentucky, so if I'm making fun of the Southern accent,
but even Kentucky has a different Southern mascot or a Southern accent
and mascot too.
And mascot.
Yeah, you're right.
There's, and I guess that's the part is like you didn't even adopt the right accent, man.
What it is, it's classic politics, and it's kind of what he's doing. Politicians will go to certain areas and they will try to talk in the method of that area to reach the people, and that's what he's doing. But it's also pandering, and it's kind of talking down when you go in. If you live there a while and suddenly you pick up the accent, I'm okay with that. But if you come there and the first thing you do is try to mimic how people talk, it's kind of messed up.
I don't like. At least do the accent of the people you're with, right? Like if I went to New York to take over the job for the Rangers, I wouldn't walk in and be like, "Hey, you guys, I'm the new coach of the Rangers, huh? Let's go get a Stromboli, y'all."
Wait.
I wouldn't even say y'all. I can't even do it when I'm mocking
I was
it.
gonna say, isn't that how they talk though?
Hey, you guys, we're the New York Mets. We about to win like 140 games. I can't even stick
So
it. I didn't switch back to Southern for no reason. Don't do it. That was so awkward. Like I saw it this morning and I'm like, what? So awkward. All right, let's come back, wrap up hour number 1 after this. I'm Rob, he's Lonzo. This is the Rob Brown Show. It's right here on ESPN Upstate, y'all. Thanks for listening. We'll see you right back on here, darling.
Lights.
The Upstate's favorite holiday tradition is on. The Upstate Holiday Light Show is a go. It's all the way until December 31st. It is the largest holiday light show in the Upstate. Over 32 million lights dancing for half an hour to the songs, your favorite traditional holiday Christmas songs, setting the sky above Greenville Pickens Speedway ablaze. They also have small carnival rides. They have farm and exotic animals inside the petting zoo. A 30-minute light show centered around a 70-plus foot tall Christmas tree. They have lights that cover up the grandstands, that lap the track all the way around. It's an incredible experience, and it is your time to get out there and see it right now. Go to upstatelights.com, upstatelights.com, and grab your tickets now. Grab the Fast Pass so you don't have to wait in line. Bring the family and either continue the best holiday tradition in the Upstate or start a new one with your family this year with the 2021 Upstate Holiday Light Show. I want to do the reverse of that, which is Coach O coaching a New York team.
Hey, you guys, we're gonna go get a Stromboli. This is New York City. I'm glad to be the head coach at Harvard University.
Until you said Harvard, I thought it would work. But yeah.
It's the NFL on Sports USA, and we're at historic Soldier Field as the Arizona Cardinals fly into Chicago to take on the Bears. The monsters of the Midway put up points fast, thanks to a choice of deep threats like Goodwin, Robinson, and Mooney.
Touchdown, Chicago, Darnell Mooney.
The Cardinals have a tough runner in James Conner and an explosive wideout duo in A.J. Green and DeAndre Hopkins. It's the Cardinals at the Bears.
Sunday afternoon at 12:30. The NFL plays here on ESPN Upstate. This feature is sponsored by Credit Karma. Find a card you're more likely to be approved for today with Credit Karma. With over 100 million members, there's plenty of reviews to help you choose. Get your free credit scores and find the right credit card for you at Credit Karma. Approval not guaranteed, subject to change.
Spectrum Mobile has the most reliable service coast to coast. 5G is included at no extra cost. Plus, there are no added taxes, no hidden fees, and no contracts. Restrictions apply. Visit SpectrumMobile.com to learn more.
So I had one of those Walmart experiences yesterday that you see kind of videos of, not so extreme that it needs to be on, social media or anything. I was trying to go down a toy aisle, and this lady got really mad, and she was pushing one of those double carts because I was in her way.
Right.
And was muttering under her breath, and she was wearing a half shirt, shouldn't have been. And it was just like, you know what? Have you ever been tempted to do something on social media that will probably get you in trouble? And it's just like, and I started to engage in conversation with her to say, okay, you don't have a kid. Why do you have? There's the kind where the kids sit in, so they have like the extra long. She didn't even have a kid, and there wasn't no kid running around her. She just had that cart. There's more to it that I can't repeat because I don't talk that way. But it was. And I just stood there and I looked and I started to say something, and maybe I have reached that age, the old man age, where you start saying stuff when you know you shouldn't. Or is it radio? I don't know which it is, but I was so close. I was so close. Just because I would have had so much fun with that, I probably got smacked or something because she looked like she might have been violent. But still, it's like, I mean, come on, narrow aisles, big old cart. Be nice to people. It's Christmas. I mean, you don't need to. Yeah.
Hey, you guys. Welcome. I'm the new coach of Harvard University. My name is Ed Orgeron. Let's go get a strike.
You can't even do Edo and a New York accent.
Hey, you guys.
It's Brian Kelly.
I don't know. Orgeron he come across as a Rocco, as that thug that only says a couple words before he starts breaking your pinkies and your toes.
What are you saying, bros? All right, we got one more.
I can't do it anymore. All right, y'all. We got one more hour of the Rob Brown Show coming up next for you. Actually, we got 2 more hours.
Yeah, we got 2 more. I'm picturing Coach O as a member of the Tracksuit Mafia now. Thanks.
Texas said he should have just gone full farmer friend from the water.
Oh, yeah. What is it got 100?
They'd have cheered him anyway.
I will shake.
They don't care. Win, and you can talk as dumb as you want, Brian. All right, coming up in the next hour, we absolutely are going to break down Conference Championship weekend right out the gate. Alabama versus Georgia, Michigan taking on Iowa in the Big Ten, Oregon and Utah in the Pac-12, Oklahoma State and Baylor in the Big 12, and Cincinnati v. Houston, all the games that have playoff implications. We'll break those games down next on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. Y'all.
An Odyssey station.
AutomotiveMap.com presents your ESPN Upstate Sports Center update powered by The Score. It's a bye week for the Carolina Panthers. They will return to action when they match up against Atlanta coming up next.
We have any guests today?
No. Kevin's at a out-of-state championship game, so he's going to join us next week for a wrap-up.
Good.
Shorty said, you guys have me dying laughing.
Speaking of the Atlanta Falcons, they are in action this weekend as they are going to match up against Tampa Bay on Sunday. College football championship games coming up on Saturday. A couple notable ones: Georgia and Alabama in the SEC championship, and Pitt against Wake Forest in the ACC championship. Weird to not have Clemson playing.
Your Coach O is so good. We could have so much fun with the parody. If you're ever willing to do, I mean, there's just so many directions.
I mean, is he relevant anymore?
Right. That's what I'm kind of sad that I'm just really discovering this now. We could do a nice parody of the Brian Kelly School of Accents. Are you a coach currently out of a job, but you're going to a new area? Please come to the Brian Kelly School of Accents, where we can teach you how to fit in.
That's solid. That's solid.
We can do it, man. There has to be one accent, though, that we just can't figure out.
So we got a bad New Orleans. We got a bad New York. Can do a bad Boston accent. Can do a bad, Montana, Wisconsin, don't you know? Like Heartlands. Is there an Ohio accent? Like you guys are the least accented
I
people.
don't believe there is.
There is.
But when I go back home, I feel like I'm around my people because they all talk like me.
Do a Texas accent, yo.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're making this. This is what's happening.
We can do this.
We're welcoming people to the Brian Kelly School of Coaching Accents. Hour number 2 of the Rob Brown Show gets going now. This is ESPN Upstate 844-GSP, ESPN 844-477-3776. Text us on the Ingles Market text line at 71307. Start your text with ESPN so we can read them on the air. It is conference championship weekend, ladies and gentlemen. We got a slew of conference championships coming down the pipe for some of these teams. Their last game of the year. Others teams their last regular game of the year before they head to the bowl season. For them, some of them trying to make the playoffs. For the rest, not so much. ACC Conference Championship, number 15 Pittsburgh taking on number 16 Wake Forest. In the Big Ten, it's Michigan taking on Iowa, Oregon, and Utah. Number 10 versus number 17 to the Pac-12. Of course, we all know that it's Georgia versus Alabama, y'all. I'm just going to do the accents of every school for the rest of the show. In the SEC Championship and in the Big 12 to wrap out your Power 5 Conference Championships, it's number 5 Oklahoma State taking on number 9 Baylor. The American Conference has a play as well with number 4 Cincinnati taking on number 21 Houston, which is interesting. Big 12 championship, of course, Bedlam went the way of the Cowboys. My dog Scooty told me all season long, ride with the Pokes. And I did listen, and it cost me money. Scooty, I'm mad at you even though you were right. Oklahoma State takes the win, and by doing so, opens the door for Baylor to represent the other side, and that is your championship at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas at noon tomorrow. When the schools last met, Okie State knocked off the Bears 24-14 behind Cowboys running back Jalen Warren's pair of TDs. However, Baylor did pick off the Cowboys 3 times in that game. So they gave up a lot, but I'm taking Oklahoma State, and I'm laying the points on this one. All right. I'm taking Okie State, and I'm laying the points in this one. I'm trying to remember what the line was. I want to say it's Oklahoma State 5.5. Lay the points, right? I can't imagine. They found the identity since then. I can't imagine there's 3 picks coming in this game again, right? No way. If they turn even one of those, I mean, they already covered the spread in the last one, 24-14. If they take one pick off the board and turn it into a touchdown, one pick off the board and turn it into a touchdown, this thing's a blowout. This thing's absolutely a blowout. So I'm riding Oklahoma State in this one, no doubt. In the ACC championship, of course, we got Wake Forest taking on Pittsburgh. I'm intrigued by this one, I guess. I mean, it doesn't ultimately.
Are you? One of the shows this morning, it was like an afterthought. It was like, oh, Clemson's not there. No one cares.
That's probably fair. I mean, I guess I should say I'm intrigued because I think it could be a fun game, right? I just hope both teams have fun. There's not much to, I mean, there's a lot to watch in it, right? There's a lot to watch in it.
Is there? Because out of all the championship games, this is probably the one I'm not watching.
I mean, I'm watching them all because football.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. But if you had to choose between all these, which one that you didn't have to watch, which one would it be?
If I had to pick one that I did, yeah,
if you have to drop,
right? Like this, it ultimately doesn't matter. But I'm intrigued to see what Sam Hartwell does. 3,700 yards to the air, 34 touchdowns to just 10 picks, 60.3% completion percentage, 342 on the ground, 10 touchdowns on 100 carries.
All right. So, as I've stated before, I'm contractually obligated to crack on Clemson at least once per show. So I will turn it on and laugh because Clemson's not there. Then I'll find something else to watch.
On the other side, of course, Kenny Pickett, right? Like Kenny Pickett is probably going to be one of the few quarterbacks that is actually really, maybe, possibly a first-round threat in the draft.
Out of all these games, this one should be competitive.
It should be.
Saying. Yeah, it should be. It should be interesting for sure.
I mean, this game is 0% intriguing.
You can't look and go one out. We just don't know.
But it will be I think it's going to be the most competitive conference championship, right? Like, I think it's going to be the most competitive. I think that Michigan's going to beat Iowa by 2 touchdowns. I think Oregon's going to lose to Utah by 2 touchdowns. I think Georgia's going to beat Alabama by a touchdown and a field goal, maybe 2 touchdowns. I think Oklahoma State's going to knock out Baylor, like convincingly.
Well, if
Cincinnati's going to down Houston big.
Yeah, if you're listening to the show yesterday, you know that we made our picks, which means I disagree with you on almost everything you just said.
That's fine. But this is going to be the most compelling game, at least in terms of it being a good game, right? I think.
Yeah. What's the line on this? I forget what the line is. It's not very big.
Line on the ACC championship is Pitt favored by 3.5.
Yeah.
3.5. So, I mean, it's all the other games. Like, we looked at all the other games, and the spreads are redonk. Except, that's not true. I forgot. And this one blew my mind. Free money alert sounder on this one, kids. Utah's a 2.5-point favorite over Oregon. Y'all remember what happened the last 2 times these squads got together? You remember what happened last 2 times these? Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, indeed. Free money alert. Utah, lay the 2.5. It's all day, baby. Oh, come on. What is this line? What is this line? 2.5. It's unbelievable. I don't know. I don't know how this line's only 2.5. I guess Utah, or I guess it's interesting. I should say, by the way, you remember what the score was for the last game, Utah, Oregon? 38-7. 38-7. And this line's 2.5. Come on.
More this game than the last one. And Oregon has improved a great deal since then.
Yeah. Oregon definitely wasn't, playing for a spot in the playoffs when these two got together. 38-7, and now it's a 2.5-point line. Free money, baby. Get you some beer money, folks. I'm giving it to you. Texas said, I'd much rather watch the ACC title than the Pac-12 title game. Could be the first to 50 wins. I don't know. Wake Forest, they didn't show it against Clemson's run game. But Wake Forest defense isn't awful. It's not good, but it ain't awful. They're going to throw a lot at Kenny Pickett. A lot at Kenny Pickett. That Wake loss to Clemson is acceptable. Clemson's a better team now than they were 6 weeks ago, right? When they played Pitt. I think we all agree on that. I was listening to Offsides yesterday, and Mark said he had a conversation with a Vegas bookmaker.
Was he having the conversation while putting money down, or just,
No, he said the guy reached out to him because he was talking about potential. He did what we did last week. I told you guys when I power rank teams, the first thing I do is I try to set lines for those games, right? If Michigan played Cincinnati, what's the line? For me, it's like Michigan minus 4.5. But if I have a team that I know that I would favor, if I have a team I know I favor, I put them higher in the power rankings, right? Who's the better team is answered by who would Vegas put money on? Who would they give the favorite line to? So we had a guy on who said that right now, Clemson would be favored over everybody except Georgia, Alabama, and actually, I think he said he'd favor Clemson by 1.5 over Michigan.
I don't believe that. Oh my gosh. Talk about to where you're at. That is ridiculous.
He said
Clemson is not the Clemson of old. They are not. Did they improve? Yes, but against bad teams, please, Michigan would destroy them. Are you kidding me? That's a joke.
Michigan would destroy them.
Michigan would destroy Clemson.
I don't know. Clemson,
Michigan.
No. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Clemson is not that. There's a reason why they're not playing this week.
Absolutely not. Clemson versus Michigan, I would say the line is Michigan minus 2.5. I'd say Michigan's favored by a field goal. Clemson running the ball like they started to do against FSU, like they did do against Wake Forest, and like they did do against South Carolina.
All right, out of all.
Wait.
Yeah. Okay.
My favorite argument you've ever made is whatever.
This is ridiculous. It's horrible.
Michigan, I would say if I'm setting lines.
Wait, so this was a Vegas expert?
That's what Mark Ryan said.
He's just trying to get some money.
So Mark,
he's just trying.
If I'm setting lines of Clemson versus the top 6, I would say they're minus 10.5 against Georgia. They're plus 10.5 against Georgia. They're plus 8.5 against Alabama. I'd say they're plus 1.5 against Michigan. I'd say they're favorites. They're minus 3.5 against Cincinnati. I'll take even money against Oklahoma State. And I'll take even money against Notre Dame. Maybe I make Notre Dame a 1.5 point favorite. Notre Dame minus 1.5. That's the lines I set up right now. Texas says, reminder, Lonzo, Georgia 10, Clemson 3. I mean, yeah, but again, week 1.
It's week 1.
You cannot put huge weight on week 1 any year. There's always, that is why, do you wonder why so very few big time teams play tough out of conference games on week 1? Why when Alabama and Florida State get together in week 1, it's like a huge deal because there's not many of those games, is because every football coach in history will tell you that the biggest step your team takes in improvement is from week 1 to week 2.
And
Does anybody think week 1 Georgia against Clemson is the same Georgia we have seen since, I don't know, week 2?
No, it's not. And the other thing is, look at how highly ranked Clemson was in week 1. How wrong were they on that? They were pretty wrong.
I would say Clemson is favored against Cincinnati. If they're not favored against Notre Dame, they're not more than a 1.5-point dog. Same with Oklahoma State. I would say they're a 1.5-point dog to Michigan. They're a 6.5 to 7.5-point dog against Bama, and they're a 10.5-point dog to Georgia.
The only team that Clemson would have a shot at out of all those teams that you mentioned is Cincinnati. That's it.
Oh, they'll beat Cincinnati. Clemson will beat Cincinnati.
But that's it. But you're wrong about Michigan. And what really bothers me is I'm sitting here on these airwaves
defending Michigan.
Does
that mean your hate for Clemson is deeper than your hate for Michigan?
I think it varies from year to year, but
Texter says, geez, Lonzo, I wish you would find a new job. Clemson would boat race your pathetic team. OH3120. We own you, fool.
Really? What happened last year? Really? Really? That's pretty funny.
You may want to reconsider.
That's pretty funny.
Text.
By the way, I hope you keep your job.
Texter says, I personally can't wait for the Big Ten championship. Ohio State's elite passion. Oh, wait, no, they're not there.
Oh, you're right. They absolutely lost. You know who they lost to? They lost to Michigan.
Who is there?
Who is there and has a chance to win the national championship. Do I want them to win? No. I actually picked Michigan to lose to Iowa. But Michigan would destroy Clemson.
Texas says, so Clemson is favored against Cincinnati, but maybe not against Notre Dame, who Cincinnati beat. Clemson wouldn't be favored against any top 8 team. All right. Again, let me remind you, the transitive property of football, disregard it. Because remember, let's look at the Big Ten. Michigan State beats Michigan.
I want to talk. That's what I'm.
Michigan State beats Michigan. Michigan beats Ohio State. Ohio State boat races Michigan State, who beat Michigan, who beat Ohio State, who beat Michigan State, who beat Michigan, who beat Ohio State, who beat Michigan State. You get it? Transitive property football is dangerous, kid. Texas says 1 year out of 4, you get a decent win. We're still your daddy.
Who's going to have the better bowl game this year?
I saw yesterday.
Clemson, it is. I mean, you know.
Clemson v. South Carolina in a bowl game. You think? I think if I'm South Carolina, I go ahead and sit that one out, right? No, we're good.
Yeah, probably. And as far as, Ohio State and Clemson goes, if Ohio State had to play Clemson in a bowl game, man, that would be a downgrade for Ohio State.
What else we got? A field goal difference between U of M versus Clemson. Ridiculous. Michigan would have 10 sacks against a sluggish DJ. Haskins and Corum would run 100+ against the Tigers. But you're right because you are babbling on the radio. Again, Clemson as a run team has been good. I'm not asking the ball 25 times against Michigan. They need to do what I've been telling Carolina to do. Just run at them over and over and over again.
But, the sad part is we're talking about a bunch of other teams who aren't playing, who aren't in the mix. Yes, and that includes Ohio State. Not in the mix.
The Ohio State University. Anyway, yeah. We're going to talk conference championships. Let's break down Georgia, Alabama when we come back. We might as well. This got confrontational quick.
Some fan bases are so easy. They are.
Texture says, Texture has a point with Clemson over Ohio State. They can't stop the run, and Clemson can now run the ball. Nice point. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If Clemson would have found this identity back in week 3, they'd have 1 loss, maybe 2 tops.
Yeah, here's the difference. If Clemson were to play Ohio State now, they'd be playing it without their defensive coordinator because he's going to Oklahoma.
The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's ESPN Upstate.
Falcons, they are in action this weekend as they are going to match up against Tampa Bay on Sunday. College football championship games coming up on Saturday. A couple notable ones: Georgia and Alabama in the SEC championship, and Pitt against Wake Forest in the ACC championship. Weird to not have Clemson playing in that game.
It is weird. You're right.
Lightning fast sports alert, so you never miss a thing. It's why the Score app is one of North America's most popular sports apps. With your ESPN Upstate Sports Center update, I'm Matt Pauley.
ESPN Upstate is your home for Furman Paladins men's basketball. Every game on ESPN Upstate, 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg, on your computer, smart speaker, and phone on the Odyssey app.
Another year is coming to a close, and you're still struggling to open and close your own.
You know what? I was going to look up mallet finger, and I changed my mind.
It's a torn tendon.
Yeah, I know what it is, but I'm afraid of what might show up if I look it up.
I'll look it up. Most of the so it looks like the tendon breaks, and basically all that happens is this part just kind of bends down. It really just looks like that, except this part's straight. Can't. It's like it looks like that.
Gotcha.
The tendon connecting the muscle to the finger bone is stretched or torn.
The Upstate Holiday Light Show is going on now at Greenville Pickens Speedway. Twice the animals and the carnival rides are back.
There's a splint that looks like it's like a ring, but it looks like two rings, like I don't know how to explain it, but like an X. The two rings form an X, like that. And it goes around this knuckle so this point, they force your finger straight, then they put that splint on it, and you can't bend your finger. So it's basically a splint.
And then afterwards, you probably have to do therapy to learn how to bend it correctly. Okay.
And to get that finger strength back. If it's on, it was on his throwing hand.
Yeah, it was on his throwing
hand.
hand.
It was.
Because when he threw, he hit that guy's arm.
Yeah, because he was wearing a splint on it, but he was wearing a splint on the outside instead of the inside. So why are you even wearing it?
I'm guessing there's probably some sort of shot involved too, since he was in the tent.
Yeah.
Go to ZipRecruiter.com/BART to try ZipRecruiter for free. ZipRecruiter.com/BART.
This hour of the Rob Brown Show is brought to you by Indeed.com. Hitting speed bumps in your hiring process? Streamline your route to hire with Indeed.
I've got to run at 3:40 or so for a haircut. If I cut out the segments and send them to you, can you upload them to Omni? The short segments? If you don't have time, I'm coming back afterwards, but it's going to be like 6:30 before I get back up here.
I mean, I have time.
Okay.
I just need to know how you want them labeled. That's the thing.
I'll write something real quick.
Okay.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is ESPN Upstate. Coming up at 2:20, it's Fanboy Friday. Lonzo and I take a look at Hawkeye, which, yes, I did watch. Get off me. We'll break that down for you, as well as some of the other things we've gotten into lately in the world of pop culture, nerds, movies, music, and the like. Georgia versus Alabama, SEC championship taking place in Hotlanta, Georgia, tomorrow afternoon, or tomorrow evening, I should say. And the big question, can Georgia break the curse, right? Like Atlanta broke the curse of Atlanta sports choking it away in the postseason. Can Georgia do it? This is this Alabama team, despite having a loss on the record to Texas A&M, this Alabama team's still good. There ain't no denying that. It's a good football team. The Alabama offensive line is possibly the best offensive line in college football this year. It has a lot of talent. It's got a number of future NFL players on it. They are deep across the line, both left to right and 1 to 2 on the depth chart. However, they can be suspect on pass pro. They can be beat on pass pro. That being said, Bryce Young back there, talented, savvy, smart QB, but quick QB. He's slippery out of the pocket. Dude's good. However, look what Auburn did to him last weekend, right? It took Alabama 58-ish minutes to go get their first score of the game, and they had to put together a 97-yard drive in a minute and a half to save their season against, not Georgia. So there's something not right on the Alabama offensive side of the football, and that's my concern, right? Alabama's offense, which we're used to having NFL players all around, has had some games where they've looked slow, looked sluggish. Ole Miss had them against the ropes for a few minutes. Mississippi State had them. Texas A&M was able to slow them down, and Auburn did it last week. Alabama had to have a miracle touchdown to take Auburn to OT and win the Iron Bowl and be in a spot for a playoff. Georgia's defense is a freaking brick wall and has been all year long. Georgia's allowing 79 rushing yards per game. 79. That's it. Best in the nation in pass efficiency defense. Number 2 in pass defense overall, and leads the country in total defense. And they're going up against the Bama team that needed a miracle against Auburn. Now listen, you kind of got to take rivalry games with a shaker of salt, right? Teams get up for rivalry games. I don't think any of us think on paper, or at least thought on paper until last week, that Michigan was better than Ohio State. But it's a rivalry game. There's something intangible. There's something different about those games. So maybe we can take some of that struggle off. But that would make sense to me if we were looking at like a 27-24 Alabama win in double overtime. That game was not that at all. It was 10-10 to end the game against an Auburn team that had lost to South Carolina the week before that, right? This is not, I was going to say your daddy's Alabama team, but, national championship last year, so This is not your very, very, very young cousin who was born last year's Alabama team. There is something off about this offense. But Alabama is still good.
Thing is, Alabama doesn't win the national championship every year. They have the chance to every year, but they don't win it every year. Some years they're a little bit off.
This year, it's weird to say the team ranked number 3 in the country is way off from what we're used to, but it's true. This is not the Alabama team we're used to.
They were number 2 and they dropped because someone went ahead of them without losing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're still one of the best teams in the entire country. And if Alabama were to beat Georgia, would you be shocked? Because there's too many people who are saying, well, if Georgia loses, they'll still be in it. So that means they believe there's a chance that Alabama can win.
Oh, there's a chance, but would I be shocked? Honestly, yes. I'll be shocked if Georgia. Yeah, I won't be shocked if it's a better game than I think it's going to be. Right? Georgia's -6.5. I think that's easy money. But if it ends 35-32, 27-24, I would not be all that shocked by a close game. I will be shocked if Georgia loses this game. What aspect of football is Georgia not clicking on? Right? Their special teams units are good. Their offense scores at will. They are arguably the best defense in the country. What aspect of football is Georgia not one of the best in the country at right now? I can't think of one. Kirby Smart is coaching as efficiently as anybody else in the game right now. They've rotated quarterbacks throughout the year and gotten good play out of all of them. They got speed at wide receiver. They got a dual threat out of the backfield. Their offensive line has been remarkable. If you had to come up with, Lonzo, one spot that you say Alabama's better than Georgia, what would it be?
I'm not sure that I can come up with anything.
Yeah. If you could give me one or two places that Alabama has an advantage over Georgia, one or two units that Alabama has an advantage over Georgia, I would say, okay, they got a shot. But I can't.
Maybe coaching?
I don't think they do.
I mean, historically.
So here's the thing, and I've said this about Nick Saban for many moons. Nick Saban, not a great game day coach. Nick Saban doesn't beat you by out-strategerying you during games. Nick Saban beats you by having the best recruiting in college football and having his guys drilled down to where everything is a science in March. So that by the time kickoff rolls around on Labor Day, Alabama is the most efficient team, the most disciplined team in college football every year. But that's why every year they can run through the regular season out-talenting everybody. But then when they come up against good teams in the college football championship, they have some tight ones. They have some close ones. Kirby Smart's a better game day coach than Nick Saban. Kirby Smart's a better X's and O's in-game tactician than Nick Saban. Bill O'Brien calling the plays for Alabama has been okay. But the play calling for Georgia has been stellar all year long. All year long. The only spot that Georgia can take a hit is that when you look at overall yards per game, Georgia is behind Baylor, USC, Nebraska, and Miami. Georgia averaging 442 per game, Alabama averaging 492 per game in total yards. That's the only spot that Alabama looks like they have an edge, is they pick up 50 more yards per game. Georgia's also not playing nearly as competitive of games. Not nearly as competitive of games. In fact, the only game that even looks competitive on paper was the Clemson game in week 1. And we just talked about you take week 1 with a shake or a salt. 10-3 against Clemson. Then 56-7, 40-13, 62-0, 37-0, 34-10, 30-13, 34-7, 43-6, 41-17, 56-7, 45-0. Which one of those games was competitive enough to where Georgia had to eke out a few extra possessions? Not throw the JV squad out in the fourth quarter. None of them. Every Georgia game has been effectively a blowout. Outside of Clemson, the closest game they had was 34-10 against Auburn and 30-13 against Kentucky. Two teams that gave Alabama a fight, by the way. Right? I mean, what am I looking at that makes me believe that all of a sudden it's going to be that good? That Alabama's just going to turn this around. Texas says Georgia has less yards because their defense gives Georgia a shorter field. Georgia by 17 this weekend. I agree. I like Georgia by 14. I don't hate you picking 17. I think you're spot on. Usually the SEC championship game is very compelling. I'm going to watch it. There's nowhere else I'm going to be tomorrow afternoon. But it's not really all that compelling. I think Georgia's going to walk Alabama straight out the door. It might be good for a quarter and a half. But Georgia's going to have 4 or 5 sacks in this game that will change the complexion of this game. They are just better than Alabama. First time in 93 games that Alabama is an underdog, and there's a reason for it. Let's take a break. We'll come back, talk about how conference championship weekend might have implications on our playoff rankings, which drop next Tuesday. We'll break that down next. I'm Rob. He's Lonzo. This is ESPN Upstate. The new head coach at Notre Dame is Marcus Freeman, who is 35 years of age, and I just realized I've done nothing with my life.
I'm Christine Lisi, breaking NBA news. The Trailblazers have fired GM and President of Basketball Operations Neil Olshey following an investigation into claims he created a toxic work environment. Joe Cronin serves as interim GM. After a brief stint in NBA COVID protocols, LeBron James cleared to return to the Lakers lineup versus the Clippers tonight. Suns put their 18-game winning streak on the line when they visit the Warriors tonight, 10 Eastern, ESPN TV. After 10 seasons, Maryland basketball coach Mark Turgeon stepping down effective immediately. Danny Manning, interim coach. Notre Dame has its new football coach, defensive coordinator Marcus Freeman. Freeman takes over for Brian Kelly, now the head coach at LSU. NFL Giants will be without quarterback Daniel Jones at least this Sunday versus the Dolphins because of a neck strain. Mike Lennon set to start in his place.
From the Ingalls Market Studio, this is ESPN Upstate. 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg. ESPN Upstate.
An Odyssey station.
Do you really want to?
Probably Steph doesn't have his pinky with him during interviews.
Don't get involved right now to get yourself moving again for 2022. Hey, it's Charlie James. It's time to call QC Kinetics. Non-surgical regenerative treatments for joint pain. We're talking lasting results using natural biologics. No surgeries, no pain meds, no steroids, and no downtime. This is really exciting stuff. Regenerative restorative treatments that actually encourage your body to heal itself using highly concentrated natural biologics. Patients are raving about it for hip pain relief, knee pain relief, shoulder and back pain relief. Don't let them keep giving you steroids, and don't let them tell you surgery is your only option. Get a free second opinion at QC Kinetics. Do it now and imagine life in 2022 without pain. Call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics now. 864-448-3772. 864-448-3772. That's 864-448-3772.
Nobody protects you from mayhem like Allstate. On that heavy shelf you hung yesterday, Turns out you didn't use enough anchors. Wait, you didn't use any anchors? Now you got an open floor plan. Trendy. And if you have the wrong home insurance, you could need a wall of money to fix this. So get home insurance with Allstate and be better protected from mayhem, like me.
I didn't think that one was going in. That was a weird bottle shape.
Shop on eBay this holiday season to get more for your dough on stand mixers, or get more for your buck on this season's hottest tech and gaming gear. And on eBay, you can
Oof. 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 I mean, you can see the skin burnt off. Oof.
premium brands with eBay's can't miss Monday deal. Get more when you get it on eBay.
From city streets to back roads.
And for what? For a bunch of people who boo him now because he won't turn heel.
Always count. Like the reliability, durability, and
Nah, I think he is. I think he does turn heel. I just think it's not the heel they're used to.
no matter where your journey takes you, count on Die Hard to get you started on the road ahead. Available at your local Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest stores.
What makes AutoZone America's #1 battery destination? Because they offer free battery testing and charging and reliable replacement batteries starting at just $79.99. And they've always got your battery solution. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
New FanDuel fantasy players, your day is about to get 20% better. Start playing fantasy this football season, and FanDuel will give you a 20% bonus on your first deposit, up to $500. That's a big-time bonus, and all you need to do to claim it is make your first deposit. If you've never tried FanDuel, now is the perfect time to jump in. You'll love playing fantasy football on FanDuel. Not only is it easy to start, but you can set new lineups every game day, keeping the action fresh all season long. There are many types of game formats to choose from, and you can even play private contests with your friends. There's an awesome slate of games on hand this week and every week. So what are you waiting for? Get in on all the excitement and experience season-long
There it is.
without the
There it
season-long
is.
Sign up today at FanDuel.com/play to claim
Farmer
your bonus.
Fran.
Start playing today. That's FanDuel.com/play. Age and location restrictions apply. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires after 30 days. We're not here to take part. We're here to take over. Name the best sports talk show in South Carolina. The Rob Brown Show.
It is the Rob Brown Show right here on ESPN Upstate. Rob and Lonzo and you be a part of the show at 844-477-3776. 844-GSP. ESPN is the number. Text us on the Ingles Market text line at 71307, 71307. Start your text with ESPN so we can read them on the air. Texter says Georgia's going to beat Alabama to the point where the media is calling for Saban to retire. And Texter saying the only reason the pundits are talking Bama over Georgia is because they want two SEC teams in the college football playoff. And I'm an SEC guy, but Bama does not belong in the field. End quote. I don't know that you're far off, right? I know you're far off, but is it? I mean, I don't understand how people are looking at Georgia and Alabama thinking this is a close game. Like Alabama's good, but y'all, I think we're going to talk about this Georgia team the way we have talked about some of the greatest teams in college football history. And I try to avoid recency bias, where we all tend to put emphasis on things that we experienced specifically like recently. But
So you're saying this Georgia team could beat LSU from 2 years ago or whatever it was?
No, but maybe. But I think I have put that LSU team, the 2019 LSU Tigers, as the best college football team of all time. This Georgia team might be better. This Georgia team would compete with the 2018 Clemson team. I think this Georgia team competes with the 04 USC Trojans. This Georgia team competes with the greatest teams of all time. They are that good. Genuinely, they are that good. And people are looking at Alabama like Alabama, who, by the way, is not. I mean, it's going to be closer than some of the 45-0 washes that Georgia's put on some teams. It'll be closer than some of those. But it ain't going to be close. I mean, this is, I don't talk up games like this very often. But this is not going to be close. Cincinnati is going to get help because Bama's getting bounced from the playoffs. So there's a spot. There's going to be a spot available. There are going to be two spots, the spot that Alabama's in and the spot that Cincinnati's in. And what you are hoping for if you're Cincinnati is that you go out there with enough style points. Now, I'll say this, Zoe. I've changed my tune. I think Cincinnati's in. Because I think if they were going to move Notre Dame ahead of Cincinnati, they would have done it after Notre Dame beat Stanford this weekend. I don't think, assuming Cincinnati beats Houston, I don't think that you can jump Notre Dame, who is off, over a Cincinnati team that's in a conference championship, undefeated, and wins it. So I think Cincinnati's in, which means there's one spot to give up between Oklahoma State and Notre Dame. One of those two teams is going because Alabama's out.
But is Cincinnati in if, for some reason, Alabama were to upset Georgia? Cincinnati's still in.
No, I think Oklahoma State jumps them.
Okay.
Unless Cincinnati wins by 30. You know, if they go out there and they win 35-7, then maybe they do enough. But if Alabama beats Georgia, they won't. But if Alabama beats Georgia, Alabama's going to 1, Michigan's staying at 2, Cincinnati's going to 3, Georgia's going to 4. Unless Oklahoma State stomps Baylor and Cincinnati's in a close one, in which case you might see Georgia go from 1 to 3 and see Oklahoma State jump Cincinnati for 4. And you'd get Bama 1, Michigan 2, Georgia 3, Okie State 4, which does two things. Number one, it avoids the first-round rematch of Georgia-Alabama and creates a potential Alabama-Georgia rematch for national championship, which, if Alabama beats Georgia, Georgia-Alabama in a rematch for the title game, I don't hate it, Lonzo. I don't hate it if Alabama beats Georgia. But again, they won't.
Me either. We've had scenarios like this in the past, though, and they've never played out. So we'll see. More than likely, Georgia handles Alabama, and this is not a scenario that happens. But again, it's a possibility because of the history of Alabama and what they've been able to do year after year after year. You've got to give them, even if it is a small percentage, a percentage of a chance of upsetting Georgia.
Oh, they got a chance. Like 7%. They got the same chance anybody else has of beating anybody else on a Saturday.
But this could be a matter of emotion, and it could be a matter of oh my God, that's Alabama over there. I mean, you don't know how the players are going to be thinking. You would believe they wouldn't.
You're right, we don't. But I've heard a lot of Georgia players. Not a lot. I've seen a couple of Georgia players during local interviews the last couple of weeks. They seem like they are chomping at the bit to get the Saban off their back, right? One of them, Lonzo, referred to Alabama as Darth Vader and said, this is our chance to end Darth Vader. Now, the vast majority of people who said this is our chance to end Darth Vader didn't do that. But if there's a Luke Skywalker out there, it's this year's Georgia program. Like I said, I put them up with the 2019 Tigers. I put them up with the 2018 Clemson Tigers as arguably the best college football team I've ever watched play. They're that good. Texture says ESPN style points just win by a decent amount of points. That is style points, right? Style points are when you're winning above and beyond. Cincinnati's a 10.5-point favorite against Houston. To me, style points kick in when you win a game by double what Vegas has as the line. So if it's 10.5 and you win by 21, style points. To me, that's what Cincinnati's got to do. They're going to win like 35-7, style points. Count it. but I think they need style points. Assuming Georgia beats Alabama. If Alabama beats Georgia, Cincinnati needs a lot of style points. A lot of style points. Because there's 2 spots eaten up by the SEC, and then you got to give the other 2 away between Michigan, Cincinnati, Oklahoma State. And again, I frankly, I don't see a path for Notre Dame. Not having a conference championship, I don't see a path for Notre Dame without at least, 3 of the favorites losing. Notre Dame needs Alabama to lose and fall out, and they need Iowa to beat Michigan and or Houston to beat Cincinnati if they want a chance to get in. And that's a lot to ask for. Text says, ESPN, Houston beats Cincinnati. You heard it here first. Why isn't Houston being talked about more? They have only 1 loss from Chad and Fountain Inn. Because Cincinnati's a good football. Here's the one thing I don't want to get lost in all of this, Lonzo. Cincinnati's a good football team. That's a good football team.
They are a good football team, but they probably don't belong where they're probably going to end up. And would you rather Cincinnati make it into the playoff or some other team that would actually be competitive with the other 3?
What? Oh, you mean from the teams this year? I thought you meant like of group of 5 teams ever.
No, just
know,
this year.
I don't know that a group of 5 team is ever going to field a team that competes with Georgia, with Alabama while Nick Saban's there. I don't know if there'll ever be a group of 5 team that fields a team that's competitive with the big dog of NCAA football this year or that year, whatever year we're talking about hypothetically. But yeah, I absolutely think that Cincinnati is hoping Georgia beats Bama because that helps, that creates a spot for them. And if you're Cincinnati, you're probably hoping Michigan and or Oklahoma State lose their games as well. You'd like for all 3 to lose. So you can move up to 2 and not face Georgia in the first round.
Which is not out of the realm of possibility. It absolutely is not. I know you don't believe Iowa stands a chance against Michigan. I do.
I think
and Baylor absolutely could win that game.
I think Iowa has a better chance against Michigan than Alabama does against Georgia. Iowa can beat Michigan. Alabama cannot beat Georgia. Unless Georgia just comes out and trips all over themselves. Iowa's got a better shot and Baylor's got a better shot at beating Oklahoma State than Alabama has at Georgia. And that's good for Cincinnati. Because if Alabama beats Georgia, then I think Cincinnati needs both Oklahoma State and Michigan to lose to make sure that they are in.
Out of those 3, who's the more likely to win? Baylor, Iowa, or Alabama?
I'm going to say Iowa because Michigan coming off that Ohio State game where they put everything they had into it, right? They played that game like it was a Super Bowl. You got to wonder if the hangover pops out, right? Like if they have a hangover game. But yeah, I would absolutely say that of those 3, the best chance to win from an underdog spot is Iowa over Michigan. Text says, Benji says, I'm hurt, Rob. Do you not remember that last FSU team to win a championship? They was good. 2013, Jameis Winston, Kelvin Benjamin. They were very good. I don't think that they were 2019 LSU or 2018 Clemson good, but they were very good. And Joe and Greer says, when Cincinnati wins, Lonzo will have to refer to Cincinnati as the Ohio football team. Ooh.
No, I will refer to them as national champion Cincinnati Bearcats.
Quick break back to wrap up hour number 2 next on the Rob Brown Show at ESPN Upstate. Mark Turgeon stepping down as Maryland's basketball coach.
Sunday, partial sunshine develops at a high of 62.
Not been Bill.
What's that? Yeah, he's been there 10 years.
Currently, it's 76.
Tomorrow on ESPN Radio. It's the ACC Championship game. The 16th ranked Wake Forest Demon Deacons take one of the nation's fiercest passing attacks into Charlotte to face the 15th ranked Pitt Panthers with a trip to a New Year's Six Bowl game on the line. 15th ranked Pitt, number 16 Wake Forest.
Tomorrow night at 7 on your home for college football championships, ESPN Upstate.
Borderlands Comics and Games, proud sponsor of the Upstate Pulse, has been
How was the Black Friday at Borderlands? I didn't make it over.
For over 30 years. Borderlands has over 300,000 comics.
We were there early, pretty good crowd.
Yeah.
But the sale went for 3 days. So,
Oh, crap. I thought it was just Friday. I'm gonna go there today. I gotta buy a DFI.
On Instagram and Facebook.
Can you pick winners? Well, then you can win cash. It's that simple. In the Rocket Mortgage Pro Football Pickup, just pick the most games right this week, and you can score $1,000. Just like that. No lineups, no spreads, no rosters.
he had told me about this already, but they just announced one of the guests for this year for Comic-Con is Sylvester. I forget his last name. I always do that. Was in Doctor Who and in Lord of the Rings.
Nice.
Holiday light show is going on now
Who's
at
in Lord of the
Greenville
Rings?
Speedway. Drive through a nighttime Christmas wonderland.
Gattacass. He was one of the other wizards.
Okay.
The wizard that was like a druid.
Okay.
I think it was more from The Hobbit. Was it from The Hobbit? I can't remember.
Can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is
I think
why
he's
you
more
should
famous
try
for being Doctor Who.
for free.
We've also
he was a doctor?
Yeah.
Okay.
ZipRecruiter doesn't
Then that would absolutely.
It's powerful
They've
technology.
also announced the voice of Winnie the Pooh.
Actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates.
I hope to get to interview the voice
So
of Winnie the
while
Pooh.
other companies
100%.
deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job in ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address.
I just want him, as Winnie the Pooh, to say, I love this show as much as I do Honey. Because I just play it over and over again. I'm also waiting to see what wrestlers he's going to get.
What?
What wrestlers?
Oh, wrestler, yeah.
Remember, they're the ones that got us the King last year.
Oh, word. That's right.
Yeah.
Shop on eBay this holiday season to get more for your dough on stand mixers, or get more for your buck on this season's hottest tech and gaming gear. And on eBay, you can even get more Cyber Monday rewind the clock deals. Cyber Monday prices are back for one day only. Get more and save more on premium brands with eBay's can't miss Monday deal. Get more when you get it on eBay.
This report is sponsored by Audible. Audible is the best place to listen for everything you're into, from comedy and motivation to popular podcasts and best-selling audiobooks. Right now, take advantage of a special holiday offer and save 60% on your first 3 months. Learn more and sign up at audible.com.
More than the scores. The ups.
Wrapping up hour number 2. I can do this. Words are hard. On the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate.
Apping it up, y'all.
Apping it up. Sorry. By the way, Lonzo and I have decided that in the next few days, we're going to open up the Brian Kelly School for coaches who need new accents.
Have all kinds of ideas.
All right, y'all. We're going to go ahead and run on to this here break. And then we come back here in just a minute. You hear me? We're going to do some baseball talk. Then we're gonna do that movie, that fan thing Friday segment that they do. We're gonna do that. And then I'm gonna teach y'all how to run a counter draw.
There you go.
That daggone right. Stick around, don't go anywhere. We will break down the newest developments from the lockout and more in the final hour of the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
An Odyssey station.
AutomotiveMap.com presents your ESPN Upstate Sports Center update, powered by The Score. It's a bye week for the Carolina Panthers. They will return to action when they match up against Atlanta coming up next Sunday. Quarterback Cam Newton has already been assured that he is going to start that game. However, Sam Darnold is getting healthy, so if Cam does not play well against the Falcons next weekend, there is a chance that Darnold could move back into the quarterback picture. Speaking of the Atlanta Falcons, they are in action this weekend as they are going to match up against Tampa Bay on Sunday. College football championship games coming up on Saturday. A couple notable ones: Georgia and Alabama in the SEC championship, and Pitt against Wake Forest in the ACC championship. Weird to not have Clemson playing in that game. Download the Score app today. Lightning fast sports alerts so you never miss a thing. It's why the Score app is one of North America's most popular sports apps. With your ESPN Upstate Sports Center update, I'm Matt Pauley.
Have you heard the Rob Brown Show?
I have for years then. Now that we have the technology, I don't understand why we aren't doing automated balls and strikes. And the only argument that I ever get in response is, well, what about the human element?
I want the human element. I want to be able to be mad at the umpire, at the referee for making a bad call. That adds to the sporting experience. If you fill in the robots, you fill in the AI, you're just one step closer to robot domination in the end of all things, as we know. But if that's what you want, Rob, then you go right ahead and push for that. I, myself, believe in human beings and want to live where we belong.
So I just want to make sure your argument against automated balls and strikes is Skynet.
Absolutely.
That's what you're telling me.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
First, robo umpires. The next thing you know, time traveling time saviors.
Read some articles. It'll scare you to death.
Alexa, was that a ball or a strike?
I'm sorry. I'm busy contemplating your doom. Please try again later.
Hey, Greenville, Spartanburg. That's the Rob Brown Show. Weekdays noon to 3 on ESPN Upstate. Tomorrow on ESPN.
Tomorrow.
It's the Big 12 championship game. Ninth-ranked Bengals head-to-head with fifth-ranked Oklahoma State at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Oklahoma State sits just outside of the playoff. Can a win in a Big 12 title game get them in? Ninth-ranked Baylor, fifth-ranked Oklahoma State.
Tomorrow morning at 11 on your home for college football championships, ESPN Upstate.
For an official Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents being a winner.
Yeah. Real, unfiltered sports talk manufactured in the Carolinas. This is the Rob Brown Show. Only on ESPN.
Yes, it is, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show is right here on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. I am Rob, the great one, Lonzo at the helm. You can be a part of the show at 844-GSP-ESPN or text us on the Ingalls Market text line at 71307. Interesting conversation here. An LSU budget regulator, a Louisiana public service commissioner named Foster Campbell blasted new LSU football coach Brian Kelly's 10-year, $100 million deal yesterday, saying that it shows misplaced priorities for the state. Campbell noted that Kelly's compensation will make him one of the 5 highest paid college football coaches, while LSU's ranking in the U.S. News and World Report's list of best universities fell to number 172, while the state's per capita income is just under $28,000 a year, and the university's library is in some places quite literally crumbling. They have had to shut that library down multiple times for infrastructure rebuilds and for mold inside of the university library. Campbell is from Elm Grove, Louisiana, and said in an interview with USA Today Network that, quote, "This has gotten completely out of hand. Somebody has to yell stop." Now, what's interesting about this, obviously, is the fact that a good chunk of Kelly's finances are actually through private funding. A lot of these contracts that these coaches sign, a lot of the money that goes to compensate the coaches is through the Booster Club, is through outside influences. And I guess that's one reason why I don't get more outraged about this, right? Is the fact that these coaches are funded, these compensation packages to these coaches are funded privately. These are from, a lot of this are just from, alum and boosters who just want to give to the football team. It's not genuinely the football team's concern.
How much of the money made by the football team goes back to the university, or does it vary from
it's university to
college?
university, but a lot of these schools, the football, we've talked about this how many times, the football program funds the majority of the athletic department as a whole, right? Women's lacrosse does not make money. Track and field does not make money. Cross country doesn't make money. Swimming and diving, tennis, soccer, they all lose money. A lot of cases, the money from the football program and the boosters that come in alongside that, where the money comes from. But it's an interesting thought, right? It's an interesting thought. Campbell said in a press release, quote, "What messages are we sending the nation when Louisiana raises millions of dollars for a football coach while LSU's academic rankings continue to drop, our library walls mold, and many of our best teachers leave the classroom? When our interstate highways fill with college graduates headed to jobs in Texas every spring, when we score lower in academics than every SEC school except Mississippi State. As a lifetime Louisianian and LSU supporter, I will root for him and the Tigers next fall, but I will also look forward to the day when Louisiana citizens support academic achievement as much as they support football." So, if you want to respond. My response is, yeah, I get it. But at the same time, the majority of that $100 million is coming from people who that's where they want to put their money, and it is their money. Now, there are consequences when your state is not churning out leaders out of your, especially out of your state-funded universities. There is a consequence for that. But the library and all that needs to be taken care of by the legislature as much as it does anything else. But hey, maybe that's a different discussion for a different show. Texter says, "Rob, you didn't break down Clemson's game for this weekend." Oh, wait, that's right. They're not playing. The rivalry doesn't stop, Lonzo, ever. And I'm here for it.
I would never say such a thing.
Hey, I found this out yesterday. I found this interesting. The transfer portal. Lonzo's favorite thing to talk about on the radio. The transfer portal. Since October of 2020, the Clemson Tigers have had 8 players hit the transfer portal, right? 8 players have hit the transfer portal for the Clemson Tigers, which is, it seems to be a relatively average number.
Does this include the one yesterday? I believe someone.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it does. No, I'm sorry. You're wrong. I'm wrong. You're right. DeMarcus Bowman, Niles Pinckney, Jordan Williams, Mike Jones Jr., Caleb Boateng, LaAnthony Williams Jr., Darian Kendrick, and Ches Malusi are the names. And then we had, I think you're right, we had one more go in a day or two.
I think it was a DB. I can't remember that.
Now, interestingly enough, South Carolina also had a player hit the transfer portal the other day as well. If you go back and you look, Clemson has brought in no players on the transfer portal, have had 8 players leave since October of last year. South Carolina has had, I think since October of last year, like 2 or 3 in the transfer portal, but they have brought in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 different players out of the transfer portal. That's just this calendar year.
But that wasn't surprising because Beamer didn't have enough time for recruiting. So you're going to bring people in from, I'd be more interested to see what he does next year.
Sure. You're not wrong. Again, I don't have any deep dive analysis of all that. I just find those numbers interesting. Clemson's lost 8, gained none. South Carolina's lost, I think, 3 and gained 7 total since the end of last football season. It's just something to dwell on. Texter says, 7 years in a row, bro. Keep talking smack. We'll make it 10. We'll see. Clemson hit a quarterback next year. Does that change it? Texter says, Dabo can't make more than $245,000 in state money. Yeah, and most schools have a clause that's around that much. That money has to be brought in by the athletic department. It can't come out of state money. But again, I think the guy's point was, we go out of our way to raise $100 million for a football coach. Why don't we do the same thing to make sure the university infrastructure isn't falling apart? We bring in $100 million for a guy to coach football. Why don't we do the same thing and bring in $100 million to make sure we have the best possible professors in university classrooms?
See, and the quote that you brought up earlier in the week comes to mind that, what was it? 90,000 people don't line up to watch a chemistry.
Okay, do a damn chemistry experiment.
Yeah.
You have to yell at her. It doesn't make as much.
Okay.
It's not as impactful. So again, I'm not deep diving it. It's just a thought. It's just a thought. I wanted to get this in the other day. Remember earlier in the year how much fun we were having with the Bryson DeChambeau v. Brooks Koepka rivalry on the PGA Tour? When these guys were kind of like rolling their eyes and talking smack about each other in the media and all that?
Really good writing. Very good writing.
Writing?
Yeah. Because it's all fake.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, well-scripted gimmick. But it was. When it first started, Zoe, we didn't think that initially. It was a fun rivalry. And I'm down for a scripted rivalry every now and then too, right? If it's a good one, if they're having fun and it's entertaining, sure, why not? If it's good. Any of you guys watched the match last Friday? Anybody watch the match? I have enjoyed. I'm a Brooks Koepka fan. I'm a Bryson DeChambeau fan. I like them both. I like the rivalry. Did anybody watch the match last Friday?
It was on like during the middle of the day or something.
It was like early afternoon.
Yeah.
And they only I think they played 12 holes instead of 18.
I think Charles Barkley was
there.
Yeah.
Phil Mickelson was there. They had guest commentators calling in and talking to the guys. I mean, the setup's great. The concept of the match is great. I wish they do 4 or 5 or 6 of the match every year. Just give me pairings of PGA guys, but then give me Charles Barkley and David Feherty and Peyton Manning on commentary. I'll watch that every time it's on. But man, PGA Tour missed an opportunity, didn't they? To strike that iron while it was hot. They missed a huge opportunity to strike that iron while it was hot. When that rivalry had guys that were talking smack openly before it got to the point where they felt like they were milking it in order to bring in the extra cash. If they run that rivalry earlier in the year, when that iron was hot, that's one of the best things golf's ever done on TV. But they waited until late November, and none of y'all even watched it, did you? Nobody watched it. It was the first time since maybe Tiger's prime, Zoe, outside of Masters Week, where we had guys calling the show and going, I'm not a big golf fan, but I'm going to watch it if they get paired together, right? Ryder Cup. If you pair Brooks and Bryson, I'm going to watch the Ryder Cup. If Brooks and Bryson end up in a pairing together in a tournament, it'd have been the most watched final round of a tournament, of any tournament this year, outside of Augusta. But the PGA didn't want to play to it, which is kind of silly, considering the whole thing was set up by the PGA in the first place. Remember, the PGA announced this year that they were going to give out bonuses to players who drove the most interest, the most metrics online. They were going to monitor social media and the Golf Channel and all that. And whichever golfers could drive the most attention away from tour days, we're going to get a little bonus. So Brooksy and Brycey, I think, sent some texts and said, hey, we can play this thing up, right? We can play this thing up. We can make something happen here. And then they just stopped. And here goes the match, and I didn't watch it. And I'm a fan of Brooks. I'm a fan of Bryson. I'm a fan of the concept of the match, and I didn't watch it. They just missed an opportunity, which is a damn shame. Golf. That's how you grow the sport amongst the youngins, amongst the casuals. Those are the type of things that grow the sport. The bad news for golf is very few people are going to tune in just to watch guys play golf. Nobody's going to tune in just to watch a round of golf. But
when they could have built it, they could have went back and got clips from the rivalry, all the stuff that you're talking about. There could have been, a media onslaught on ESPN and other places about this is coming up. You don't want to miss this. We don't know what this is going to end up being. It could be a brawl. It could be all these kind. But there was no build up to this at all.
You know what the fun part about it was? There was, and you didn't see it because they did not structure it well. They were running commercials for the match for like 4 weeks leading up to it. They were running commercials, and the commercials had the two of them and they were playing old clips and the eye roll and all that. Then they had them and they were in different places in the commercial, playing up the angle of we couldn't even get these two guys to come to the studio at the time to film a commercial, right? They did all that, but they just misfired. They waited too long. Man, I wish I could call the PGA Tour and go, guys, if you'd run that match back in July, August, you'd have had the most watched golf event outside of Augusta all year long. But you waited and you missed it. It's too bad. It's too bad. Could have been great. Could have been great. Texture says, Rob, speaking of the transfer portal, what are the odds South Carolina gets a 5-star or 2 from Oklahoma? Not great. Not great. Right? 5 stars aren't, I'm sorry to say, and I don't mean this to sound disrespectful, 5 stars aren't coming to 6-win programs even if they like the head coach. They're just not. Spencer Rattler's not. I've seen his name associated with South Carolina a number of times. Spencer Rattler probably ain't coming to South Carolina, even if he likes Shane. Which I don't know if he does.
Do you want him though?
Spencer Rattler.
Do you want him just because he has a 5-star?
Spencer Rattler is better than every quarterback in South Carolina's quarterback room right now.
Well, that's not really saying a whole lot.
But that's my point. It's an upgrade either way, right? So yes is the answer. Yes, I want him. Do I think Spencer Rattler's competing for a Heisman next year? No. Do I want him? Yes. Because he is an upgrade over every bullet South Carolina has in the QB gun right now. So yeah, I just want him just because he's an upgrade. It's not a great one, but he is an upgrade, and I'll take it. Texture says, Clemson talking blank after getting smoked in literally every other sport throughout the year. Palmetto rivalry champs 5 years in a row. Go Gamecocks. I mean, like, you're right. But also, do y'all keep track of your rivalry outside of football? I think I saw Asia Wilson from South Carolina that I say, yeah, I want to beat Clemson in every sport. But like, if I asked you who won the baseball series between Clemson and South Carolina last year, how many of y'all could honestly tell me the answer to that? Lonzo, could you?
Well, it's a toss-up every year. It's always competitive.
Right, but could you tell me who won it last year?
Probably Clemson.
See, I bet if I
So
asked.
you don't know the answer, do you?
No, I do, because I went to all 3 games.
Oh, okay. So who was it?
You're right.
Okay.
But if I asked you, if I went on the radio and asked Clemson and South Carolina fans, who won the last basketball game between these two? How many people you think could actually tell me the answer?
There's a few out there, and other ones would Google it really quick.
The point is, as much as I hope to change it, it's not really how it works.
Well, that rivalry is there in baseball, like it is in football. I don't know how much in other sports, because obviously, according to the texter, South Carolina dominates in most of those. We know they do in women's basketball for sure.
Fair.
I believe South Carolina's women's team is still number 1.
They are, and undefeated. Yes. And I'm gonna tell you right now that so I told the lady friend the other day, says, if they go to the Final Four and they go to the national championship, do you want to go? I was like, I can probably get us tickets to go watch the women's national championship. South Carolina's in it. She's like, yeah, let's go. And then we looked it up, Lonzo. It's in March in Minneapolis. Do we go to Minneapolis?
Yeah. Who says, hey, you know what? I want to go to Minnesota. This is not something that most people say. It's probably still going to be snowing in Minnesota in March.
Yeah, probably. I don't know if we go for that.
Well, while you're there, you can practice your Minnesotan accent.
Oh, yeah,
whatever
that's
that
right,
might
don't
be.
you know?
Yeah.
For the Brian Kelly Coaching School of Coaching Accents, don't
You're
you
just
know?
automatically thinking Minnesota talks like Wisconsin. They might. I don't know. I don't believe I've ever met anyone from Minnesota. So,
I mean, it's Brian Kelly. It doesn't matter where the accent's actually from. You just stereotype them and then do a press conference.
Absolutely.
All right, let's do this. Coming up next segment, Fanboy Friday, we'll break down Hawkeye. Texter says, dude, the only sport that matters is women's basketball. Another texter says, hell yeah, the Twin Cities are a great place to visit. Have you been? I have never been to the Twin Cities. I've never been to Minneapolis. If you say it's worth going, we might go. If South Carolina plays for the women's national championship, me and the lady friend might fly up there. I've just never been to Minneapolis.
What's this if stuff?
Win. Sorry. Win. We got some more texts. I'll read them when we come back. Fanboy Friday when we come back. Then I'm absolutely playing that Brian Kelly audio again because it's hilarious. And then Twitter trending topics to wrap up the week on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
Sports Center update powered by The Score. It's a bye week for the Carolina Panthers. They will return to action when they match up against Atlanta coming up next Sunday. Quarterback Cam Newton has already been assured that he is going to start that game. However, Sam Darnold is getting healthy, so if Cam does not play well against the Falcons next weekend, there is a chance that Darnold could move back into the quarterback picture. Speaking of the Atlanta Falcons, they are in action.
So apparently Keegan knows the Minnesota accent.
Oh, do you now? Minnesota accent is a little more sing-songish. David says you go to Minnesota for the blondes. I'm going to assume you mean beer, considering I just told you I'm taking the girlfriend. Hey, babe, we're going to Minnesota so I can hit on blondes, eh? Oh, that's Canada, which is also going to be added to the Brian Kelly School of Coaching Accents.
Well, it has to be. And the Canadian accent covers a lot of northern states, like Minnesota, like Montana. Sure, they all talk like that there.
We're talking millions of incredible lights, a kids' light zone, 600-foot light tunnel, even a drive-through petting zoo. Really? You need a ticket? Sure, but fast passes are available. Just sign up online. We went last year, and the kids have been asking when we can go back. What did you tell them?
Oh, I lied. South Carolina won the baseball series last year. I was thinking about the year before it. South Carolina at 2-1.
It kickstarts our hollies and jollies. We're in. Where do I score some tickets? Just go to upstatelights.com. That's upstatelights.com. We should all go together.
The Upstate Holiday Light Show is going on now at Greenville Pickens Speedway. Enjoy the magic of the season with family, neighbors, and friends. Drive through a nighttime Christmas wonderland as 32 million colors set the sky ablaze, synchronized to the music of your favorite holiday classics. Twice the animals and the carnival rides are back. UpstateLights.com.
Spectrum Mobile is reinventing wireless again. Get unlimited on 2+ lines for $29.99 a month per line. No contracts, no added taxes or fees. Includes nationwide 5G. Save up to 60% with Spectrum Mobile. Get unlimited on 2+ lines for $29.99 a month. Call 855-438-2999 or visit the store near you. Offer valid for new customers. Spectrum Internet requirements. Run comparison of unlimited plans from international carriers as of 9/2020.
We've got your answer for this weekend's tailgate. Come watch the game with us, or take the team home and pre-order your game day catering from Home Team Barbecue. Wings, ribs, sliders, and don't forget to add a gallon of Game Changer mix. Place your order with Home Team.
So Nashville just dropped their stadium series. The Predators, the hockey team, just dropped their stadium series jerseys, and everybody's making fun of them because this E is so much bigger than all the rest. So Mark Shelley from the Swamp Rabbit.
Yeah, I saw because Keegan.
Keegan
did that. Yeah. You guys show me how to put in for tickets.
Also, we got to reach out to them and schedule interviews.
All right, the first thing, Big E and RK Bro are pairing together.
No, they didn't say that.
Yeah, they did.
Really?
Yes, they did.
Where's Randy?
That's what I was saying. Hold on. I didn't quite hear who they're facing. Oh, I think they said AJ Styles. Oh. Have we seen Big E go up against Omos yet?
I'm not.
I don't think he's been RKO'd yet. I wish it would happen. I don't know if he could sell it. That's probably why. They usually reach out to us, but you may want to ask Mark because he may know who the guy is. There's one guy that handles them when they're in the area. It's the same guy every time. I don't know if you've talked to him or not. I can't remember his name. He's the one that brought Charlotte in and was sitting right there. And when I told Charlotte I liked Carmella to make her mad, he's like, Carmella's a Patriots fan. I was like, never mind.
Never mind.
So that let me know the guy is local and actually listened to the station and knew that I can't stand the Patriots. I've met him a couple of times. Just can't remember his name because it's been a couple of years. If it's still him.
When you hear the lightsabers clash, you know it's time for Fanboy Friday, where Lonzo bring all our nerdy pop culture off the air discussion to you, because it's our show and that's what we want to do. That's why. That's good enough reason, right? Yeah, I thought so. A couple of things. First off, you heard there just a second ago during that last promo. January 3rd, Monday Night Raw, going to be here at the Well. The Bon Secure Wellness Arena will play host to apparently Big E and RK Bro. Not RK Bro, just one half of it.
No, I thought it was all of RK Bro.
Oh, is it RK Bro and Big E?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's a 3-on-3, and I didn't hear. I mean, I can go back during the break and listen to the spot, and we can find out because I have the capabilities. I guess are you going on to see if it is actually listed?
See if they put the card up. Yeah, I want to know. Yeah, so we'll be there. Pretty dope. Pretty excited about that. We're gonna see if we can score a couple of interviews in the week leading up to that. We'll let you know what we get of that. Maybe on that Monday, we'll let you know what goes down. I watched Hawkeye. I will tell you that I personally liked it. It's Die Hard with bows and arrows, which I'm 100% down for. I don't think it's going to have the same impact on the MCU that WandaVision did. I don't think it's going to have the same impact on the MCU that Loki did. But I think to me, it's every bit as fun, right? Like I think the stakes are definitely higher in WandaVision. The stakes are definitely higher in Loki. I think Hawkeye, just like everything else with Hawkeye in the MCU, the stakes are a little bit lower. But I think it's entertaining.
I get what you're saying about the stakes being lower, but they're not for him. I mean, because what this is a guy who just wants to go home for Christmas and be with his family, someone who's missed out a lot because he's been,
because he's been being Hawkeye.
Yeah. Saving the world and stuff like that. He just wants to, and I think it's a little more sentimental on one end, not as heart-wrenching as WandaVision was, but it's also sentimental for people who can't go home for Christmas. And think about the circumstances he's in. And I think it's pretty well written. It's a little slow pace. I think we're going to find some things out later on that we weren't expecting or that people are hinting at possibly happening. And we might see some returns from earlier MCU projects.
I just want to say, if you think the writing's slow, I don't necessarily disagree. That opening scene was the best opening scene to anything they've done on TV yet.
You're talking about in episode 3?
No, I'm talking about episode 1, the opening scene with young Kate.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Looking out at the battle for New York in 2012 and seeing them have timed everything up with Hawkeye seen up on top of the building and him jumping out and swinging through the window and all that. That was a killer opening 3 minutes, and they hooked me just on that.
Well, and I love the trick arrows. I mean, we were teased about it all along that was going to happen, and to actually see what they did, that was pretty cool. It really was. I mean, the action sequences are good, but Marvel, they do that well. They absolutely do. I like her as a character, and I can't wait for Yelena Bola, I can't say her last name, to show up. The new Black Widow.
Bonova, I think.
I was a Yelena Belima. That's not what it is.
No, it's not. No, I'm here for it, man. I'm absolutely here for it.
This is another way they're going to tie some other things in, with Val and some things like that.
Sure, I think so, and I think we may have to wait till the very end.
Yeah, Keegan just pointed out the Pym arrow. The Pym arrow was great.
Was super
sick.
It
was. When you see the Pym, it was like, oh.
Yeah, was super sick. But I like I am always down with a hero kind of having to try to deal with his weaknesses. I thought the whole concept of Hawkeye having being hearing
impaired.
Yep. Sorry, I forgot the word. I think the whole concept of him being hearing impaired and having to deal with that, especially in that the scene where he does not have his hearing aid is great. I mean, I thought that was absolutely fantastic.
Which was made to bring the characters together a little bit, and it did.
I love the heightened tension of him trying to get out of that room with, by the way, give me an entire show of just the tracksuit mafia muscle. I like the idea of that starting with him going in there with every intent to talk their way out of a gigantic fight against them. And when he fires that first arrow that actually takes somebody out, like you can feel the stakes race, like you can feel the tension having been built because of that.
Well, yeah,
and
when
what a great character the dragon is. The young lady in charge of the
Echo.
What a great
when he
character.
shoots on both sides of her head to stop
Super
her,
dope.
and it's like you realize you see somewhat of how skilled of an archer he is in all the Avengers. This shows how good he really is, that he is the best in the world. And I really my one problem with Echo is she's getting her own series. She's got to bring the Tracksuit Mafia with her, doesn't she?
100%. I don't want if they're not in it.
I want to get to know those characters. I do. I want to get to know some of those guys, and hopefully that happens. Especially the dude who's having problems with his ex-girlfriend, and I mean, there's just a lot of things. And they strapped him to a unicorn, and that was just.
You know what I appreciate? I know a lot of people have gotten turned off. Like I've seen the comment, "Hey Kevin, Marvel, not every Marvel moment has to have a laugh in it somewhere." Dude, I appreciated that, right? Like I appreciated that moment of these guys are screwed, yet it's still funny. That's tough to pull off.
But after seeing what Natasha did time and time again, and the whole reason why Clint was there is he was going to do the same thing that she did, and then unfortunately Kate, fell through the glass, so he got captured on purpose. Which means you get captured on purpose, that there's no doubt in your mind that you're going to be able to get loose.
Also, by the way, I am here for Hawkeye as a LARPer.
Yes, that was.
I am
was
here
great.
for Hawkeye as a LARPer. Great moment, and it was cool at the end when the dude gives him the Ronin costume back, and he's like, "Dude, this has been the greatest day of my life." He's like, "I can't say the same." He's like, "You tell me I had a good time." He's like, "Yeah, I'm glad I did it." That was cool, man. Like, give a toss out to the nerds.
And there are a lot in this area.
Yeah.
I've talked to some before, and I've always wanted to try it, but just never had the opportunity.
But I think they've got good enough chemistry to have a buddy cop comedy here, right? Like Bishop and Hawkeye, because Kate Bishop in every other scene with everybody else is like tense and stern and not really fluid. But when like he's just got her disarmed and making the jokes and all that, and she has just enough of the dry sarcastic humor to match his but not overpower. I think it's great. I think it's a great show. Like I said, I don't think the stakes are as high. I don't think it's going to be as impactful as WandaVision or Loki, but for those of us that wanted Hawkeye to get his own time to shine, I think they've done a great job with this.
Well, think about it. If you are Kate, and maybe you've been in this situation in your own life where you grew up idolizing someone, and then you actually meet them. In her case, she's getting to spend time with her idol. And near the end, I believe, of episode 3, he says, "You are really a great archer."
Yeah.
And imagine that. Imagine meeting your idol in radio, and he says to you or she says to you, "Hey, you're really good on the mic."
I'd say,
how would that feel?
Here's my trophy.
Yes.
I know. No, I don't know, man. Like I said, I find it interesting. I think it's good. I think it's less intense intentionally than Loki. It's less intense intentional. I mean, I know WandaVision had its moments of comedy, but when it got down to the last couple of episodes, it got super tense. And I'm sure that'll happen here as well.
Should we address
good and entertaining?
Should we address the rumor of who the uncle is, or would you just rather not?
Yeah, I kind of want to let people find out. Right?
Okay, all right.
Like, and only because there's been very few introductions in the MCU that we didn't know who they were, right? Like even the next big bad, the next Thanos, we already know who it is. And we know what his hook is and what his point is. And there'll be twists on it in the movies like there were with Thanos, but we already know that. This is one of the few times that we've kind of been introduced. I would say so far it's him and Agatha in WandaVision were probably the only two introductions that weren't relatively well known, right?
Well, here's the thing. We don't know.
Right.
We don't know for sure because, everyone thought Mephisto was the bad guy in Wanda.
Right.
And he wasn't.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's one of the few times we've been and it may turn out to be somebody else, but I don't know. We'll see. I like it. I think it's good. I think it's got a good setup. I think the pacing's fine. It wasn't too slow for me. I think for characters like Hawkeye and also Hawkeye, I think you have to kind of slow build them. That you can't just go with Iron Man. I mean, even Iron Man, like it was an hour and 45 minutes into Iron Man 1 before we actually saw Iron Man, right? With characters who it's more about who they are as people than anything else, then I think you got to take your time to set up because we want to know who the person is that makes them the superhero that they are. I think that's it. The story of Iron Man, people didn't love Iron Man necessarily because not just because he had all the cool gadgets, right? All the cool tech. We liked Iron Man because Iron Man was somebody that a lot of people who aren't represented can see themselves in. We're not billionaires, but Iron Man had demons, man. He had his depression. He has alcoholism. He had all these demons that he had to fight as well. Captain America. We all saw ourselves in Captain America as the scrappy underdog who rose to the surface. We invest ourselves in who the characters are that become the superheroes. And that's why the superheroes are so compelling because there's a connection to them that you form. And I think with Hawkeye, throughout the entire MCU, we've been obviously connected to Hawkeye in all these different movies, but we outside of one scene with Black Widow that was used to set up more of a Black Widow story arc, we don't really know a damn thing about Hawkeye, with the exception of he was fighting back against Thanos to get his family back. Outside of that, we don't have a lot of backstory for Hawkeye. Now they're giving it to us.
I mean, he had a family and people didn't know. I mean, that was a big surprise right there. And the fact that now he's just trying to get on with his family and he's having to deal with celebrity when he's been basically a spy his entire career.
And
now,
wants to be.
Yeah, now everyone knows. And once everyone knows who you are, you can't go back to the other way.
Yeah, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. By the way, Rogers the Musical was incredible.
It's kind of what I would expect if I went to a Broadway play. Yes.
Yeah, it's a Broadway play. I loved it.
And I probably would want a hearing aid to turn off also.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. We'll get that Brian Kelly audio one more time. We gave you our predictions for conference championship football weekend. We'll hit you with those one more time, and then it's Twitter to wrap up Friday on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate.
I'm Christine Lisi. In what's being called a mutual decision, Maryland basketball coach has resigned after 10 seasons, effective immediately. Danny Manning will be interim coach. NBA news, the Trailblazers have fired GM and president of basketball operations Neil Olshey following an investigation into allegations he created a toxic workplace. Joe Cronin serves as interim GM. Suns seek a 19th straight win in tonight's game against the Warriors, 10 Eastern on ESPN TV. Notre Dame named defensive coordinator Marcus Freeman its new football coach. He replaces Brian Kelly, who left earlier this week to become LSU's coach. NFL, Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray, game time decision against the Bears Sunday. He's entering his 6th week dealing with a high ankle sprain. Giants quarterback Daniel Jones with an neck sprain out at least Sunday against the Dolphins. Mike Lennon set to start in his place.
From the Ingles Market Studio, this is ESPN Upstate. 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg, ESPN Upstate.
An Odyssey station.
This feature is sponsored by Navage. Worried about what you're breathing in? With each breath, allergens, germs, and viruses get trapped in your nose. Now there's a simple, easy, and effective way to clean your nose and protect your health. It's called Navage. Navage. Available at Navage.com.
Another year is coming to a close, and you're still struggling to open and close your old windows? It's time with American Made Windows. Don't go through another year with those stubborn, outdated, leaky, and drafty windows. Update and upgrade with our beautiful, energy-efficient windows today. We do expert work quickly and cleanly, so don't wait. Visit amwupstate.com or call 334-6030. And remember, the best windows are American made.
You're always up for some fun with the family, so you order the essentials: a new board game, some baking supplies, and even a new projector for outdoor movie night. And with the Bank of America customized Cash Rewards credit card, you can choose to earn 3% cash back on online shopping, which could increase to up to 5.25% as a preferred rewards member. Rewards which you can put toward an extra treat that everyone will enjoy, like an old-fashioned popcorn machine. Visit bankofamerica.com/more-rewarding and apply now. Copyright 2021 Bank of America Corporation.
Cricket Holiday Hotline, what's your wish?
Hey, look at a bad new gold new plane. Red new gold right here. It's got to go fast.
Well, Cricket has super fast nationwide 5G on all plans, just in time for the holidays.
Do we have 1G, 3G, 5G for the gentleman right here? Do I have holiday shopping, video streaming, photo sending, and recipe searching?
All that and more.
Don't want, don't what? I'm told.
Get Cricket's nationwide 5G on all plans. It's everything you wished for, including the price.
Cricket 5G requires compatible devices. Not available with 5G coverage. See cricketwireless.com/.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
What makes AutoZone America's #1 battery destination? Because they offer free battery testing and charging and reliable replacement batteries starting at just $79.99. And they've always got your battery solution. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
5G is here. For the big carriers, want you to sign a pricey long-term contract and get in on the action. Well, no more. Because Straight Talk Wireless has rolled out 5G coverage nationwide, with plans starting at just $35 a month with no coverage. And get a Samsung Galaxy A32 5G for only $299, all on America's best network. 5G coverage, 5G phone, less money. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. 5G capable device supplier, actual availability, coverage, and speed.
What makes the holidays so magical? Oddly enough, it's not magic. It happens when something appears right when you need it.
QC Kinetics in the last break.
Okay.
Something out of nothing by watching our holiday how-to video, or when you know what an object is just by snapping a photo with image search on our app. These things don't take magic. Nope, you just need the impressive technology behind our app. Make the holidays yours. With a little help from the Home Depot app. How doers get more done.
Calling for GSP ESPN.
All right, heading towards the end of the final hour of the week. Rob Lonzo, you on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. Let's get that Brian and Kelly audio one more time, just because I love it so much. Let's do clip 2A first. This is how Brian Kelly talks when he's doing a normal interview. This is him being interviewed by Paul Feinbaum. Paul asked him about taking the LSU job. This is Brian Kelly's normal way of speaking.
Yeah, I don't even know whirlwind is possible as a definition. Look, you know, you're getting your football team ready to play on the West Coast against Stanford. Your focus is on trying to put them in the best position to get into the playoffs. You're on the West Coast recruiting, and the next thing you know, you're landing in South Bend at 5:30 a.m. with a 7 a.m. meeting to tell your team that you've resigned from Notre Dame and you're the new head football coach at Louisiana State University. So it was just one of those things that just happened so quickly, came together at the last minute, and really excited to be here at LSU.
So that's how Brian Kelly normally talks. Earlier this week, Brian Kelly got introduced to the crowd in Baton Rouge at an LSU basketball game. And he took to the mic to hype up the crowd for the first time. And all of a sudden, Brian Kelly sounded like this.
Thank you. Well, this is a great way to get started. And I haven't even won all my games yet.
It's a great night to be a Tiger. I'm here with my family, and we are so excited to be in the great state of Louisiana, but more importantly, to be with you great fans, and to be part of what is going to be an incredible ride here at Louisiana State University. And I know it's basketball, and this is an exciting basketball team, and we've got a nice start, but I can't wait to get into Tiger Stadium this fall. I will tell you this, the greatest fans deserve an incredible football team, and we will begin, starting right this minute, to put together the next national championship football team at Louisiana State University. That's the standard, that's the expectation. We knew that coming in. We don't apologize for it. We know it's hard work. We know there's great teams in the SEC. We respect them, but this is LSU. Go Tigers!
In the first one, it's, I got to go talk to my family and we made a decision together. And then in the second one, it's, we're glad to be here with our family at Louisiana State University. Why, Brian? It's so awkward. Brian Kelly's School of Coaches Who Need a New Accent is about to open, ladies and gentlemen. Just, I'm reading, like, social media is making run after run at this cat, and it's absolutely worth it. So good. I love that Brian Kelly had spent a total of 6 minutes in Louisiana and already had a twang, y'all. And for the record, for those of y'all that are keeping track, this ain't the accent they speak with down in Louisiana. Like, you didn't even get the right Southern accent, man.
So when I think Louisiana, I think Ed Orgeron. So that's I think everyone speaks
No,
that
not
way.
everyone there talks like Farmer Fran from the Waterboy. All right?
They don't?
No, daggone LSU, go Tigers. I got to tell you guys, I'm real glad to be here at Louisiana State University, home of the LSU Fighting Tigers. Go Tigers. No, that's not how they talk. That's just Coach O.
See, what I thought, the reason why you do that so well is you just went back to what it's your native tongue.
That's
so
that's actually what I sounded like. That's what I sounded like as a kid. Does anybody know the answer to this question? Yeah, that's A squared plus B squared equals C squared. That's the Pythagorean theorem. Right there, go Tigers. And of course, we end every sentence down in Louisiana by saying, go Tigers.
And the female teachers also sounded like that. So it was,
That's exactly right, Rob. You get 3 extra points on your final exam. Go Tigers. That's how everybody talks down there in Louisiana. We all say go Tigers. It's no, Brian. Texas said ESPN, it's like Vince told Brian to switch characters. Hey, didn't you used to have a Jamaican accent? Like, duh. Texas said, big Notre Dame fan here. That Brian Kelly speech is indicative of his ruse. Goodbye. Great to have Freeman on board. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If anybody thought Brian Kelly's a good delay, he's a fraud. He's not a fraud as a football coach. He's a good football coach. He's just a fake person.
I'm very impressed that the texter used the word ruse. I agree. That's awesome.
Texter says ESPN must have been coached by our governor.
Not well, though, because he doesn't have the Henry down, but, you know.
We'd like to thank y'all for coming on down to Louisiana State University, where the ladies are beautiful and the football team is beautifuler.
Which is what got Orgeron in trouble. Yeah.
Texter, your Coach O is really good, except we understand what you're saying.
Yeah, there's that.
No, the LSU, they got the football team, and then won the national championship with the Tigers, and then went against that Alabama Roll Tide. But go Tigers.
Yeah, the stammering doesn't help. I can still understand everything you're saying. But, you know, I could also understand just about everything that Orgeron said.
Coach O. I hate that Coach O's irrelevant now. I really do. It's like one of the few good impressions I have is just gone. I love the other day, they're like, Coach, Any chance you're going to stick around and coach LSU in the bowl game? And he said, no, I'm not. I'm packing my bags and heading to Destin. Sweet. I warned all of my folks down in Destin, Florida, because now not only is Coach O coming back, but now I ain't got no responsibilities neither. Go Tigers.
So there's a chance when you go home that you're out on the beach and there he is.
I have run into Coach O in Destin. He
There we go.
literally runs Highway
Right.
98 through Destin shirtless on a daily basis. And one of the best stories, when he was getting fired, one of the best stories, he's running 98 shirtless. There's a boat because 98 through Destin runs from between Fort Walton Beach, Okaloosa Island, and Destin. For those of you that have been there, you know what I'm talking about. There's a strip of Highway 98 about 4 miles long where the Gulf of Mexico is 50 yards one direction and it's Choctachi Bay on the other 10 yards off the road. So it's just literally water on both sides. And people will pull their boats up onto that beach and just park and hang out on the boat all day. Coach O was running by one day, saw a young lady hanging off the side of one of the boats in her bikini, and Coach O walked over and dropped the, I'm Ed Orgeron. I'm the head coach of the LSU Tigers. You look like a very nice young lady. I'd like to take you out for a drink. Go Tigers. And like that's just Coach O. That's just Coach O. All right, Twitter trending topics to wrap up the week when we come back on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
QC Kinetics.
Tell you about my friends at QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics wants you to be able to live your life without the fear of and, well, without joint pain, right? As you get older, you've got connective tissue inside all of your joints. When I say all, I'm talking your ankles, I'm talking your wrists, you're talking your elbows, your knees, your lower back, your hips, your spine, your neck. And as you age, that connective tissue, it doesn't heal itself like it used to. So it starts to wear out. And when it wears out, parts that ain't supposed to rub, you get inflammation, you get swelling, and that's where that pain comes from. Well, QC Kinetics wants you to be able to live without having to deal with that. So they're non-surgical regenerative therapies. Teach your body, remind your body how to heal itself, how to take that connective tissue and restore it without getting cut open, without sticking artificial stuff in there. You don't have to get cut, no drugs, no anesthesia, no therapy, no downtime, ladies and gentlemen. You go in, you get the regenerative, restorative, non-surgical therapy. You're back to your day-to-day life literally the same day. It's just that simple. You want to learn how it works? Well, good news for you. You can go to the website at qckinetics.com, qckinetics.com, qckinetics.com. And when you're there, you'll learn all about the science behind the therapy. Or you can call them right now at 864-448-3772. 864-448-3772. Mention the Rob Brown Show and get that first consultation for free with our friends at QC Kinetics right here in the Upstate.
You almost said therapy.
Therapy. My inner Brian Kelly got in the way. Get you some therapy. Daniel 10, Camden 7 in the first. David, our buddy Kevin from the Moving the Chains podcast, who joins us on Fridays, is actually at the game. He'll be joining us next week so that we can get a breakdown from him. Pretty pumped about that. Little state championship football, baby. Man, it doesn't work. How about Coach O to Miami? You do not want to turn Ed Orgeron loose in Miami, Florida. Oh, I put the pressure on you. Sorry about that.
You like willed it to come out.
Willed it. That's the kind of... I have the ability to change physics.
Telekinesis. Everyone knows that you have telekinesis.
Yes.
It's not really strong telekinesis.
What's the superpower of choice? It's got to be invisibility, right? Or flight. I'm going invisibility.
Super speed.
Ah.
I want super speed so I can be more efficient at work. Hey, this week is over. Kind of.
I know, right? Golly.
Yeah, that's bad.
Oh.
Be sleeping on his stomach for a while, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
For the ones who keep going when the going gets tough. And the ones who know we're tougher together. For the pathfinders breaking new ground. Granger offers supplies and solutions for every industry.
I don't think so, Stephen. Having super wealth doesn't give you the ability to build an Iron Man suit. You could commission one. You'd still have to be, have the know-how to build one.
I mean, in fairness, in the real world, wealth is absolutely the ultimate superpower.
Yes, I agree. Me being rich would be a problem, though, because I get bored too easy. I'd be like, hey, let's see if we can build this. Hey, let me buy that. That's like a 60s style dress. Are those coming back? No, of course she's not on there anymore.
This report is sponsored by Publix Supermarkets. Makes for less? Oh, yes. Publix Pharmacy offers 90-day supplies of commonly prescribed select medications for the low cost of $7.50. Restrictions apply. See pharmacy for details or visit Publix.com/saveonmeds.
All right, it's time for Twitter Trending Topics, where I tell Rob what is trending, and he will tell you and me and everyone what he knows about it. The first thing that's trending is chocolate glaze.
I got nothing.
Well, today, and I guess today only, Krispy Kreme has chocolate glazed donuts.
Well,
just in case you were on your way. Yeah, it's chocolate glaze.
I'm not looking at Twitter. I'm literally
if
Googling where the nearest Krispy Kreme is.
It's that way.
Yep.
It's Pleasantburg.
Yep.
You just go down a couple exits, turn left.
Oh, it's literally right where I live.
Is it really?
I
Okay.
live, well, I'm not going to tell you where I live, but it's close to that
Wow.
neighborhood. How's that?
Wow. I'll never invite you over. I'm not telling you where I
On the
live.
radio, Lonzo. Some weirdos out there, man.
Yeah, there are. Some in the studio, too.
Brock Lesnar. Some WWE contract terms just got put out, and Brock and Roman are the top two paid guys by WWE right now, which is why you're going to get 63 more months of that rivalry.
And Brock,
we're on to the next one.
Yeah, and Brock returns
Did
tonight.
he show up? Oh, he shows up tonight?
To
I guess
SmackDown,
tonight
yeah.
is Friday, yeah.
It is.
So there you go. It's Friday.
It is.
We're going home.
Bye-bye.
Later. Mark Wright and Diesel are up next with Offsides. Make sure you stick around for that. For Lonzo, my name is Rob. Have a great weekend, everybody. Don't drink and drive. I'll punch you in the face. We'll see you back here on Monday to break down conference championship winners and losers on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. Later.